across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I genuinely believe that what has happened in the past few days with Jess Phillips is absolutely, and that chair doesn't work again, so let's just try and move. So annoying. Okay, Jess Phillips has announced a new women's safety organisation. Jess Phillips has announced a new women's safety initiative. Jess Phillips has launched a new women's safety initiative on the basis that she wants to ignore what is happening with grooming gangs in Britain. And I think that now we can say that migrant gangs are the most dangerous thing to women's rights in Britain. We're joined now by Jess Gill. How are you, Jess?
I'm good, thank you so much for
I'm
having
feeling
me
good
on.
myself, aren't I? Despite the fact the chair didn't work and people started telling me the wrong name of the person who'd organised the Women's Safety Initiative. But look, the reality is, what Jess Phillips is attempting to do here is attempting to say that women's safety is solely related to misogyny, not related to immigration. That is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, so recently me and my friends, we decided to start this new campaign where we've basically called out the fact that it's mostly men from foreign backgrounds who have come to this country and they've started to commit crime, and a lot of the women what we've spoke to, they've started to feel unsafe because of it. They've started to feel that they can't go down the streets anymore. And so I think it's quite frankly appalling how the government has responded to this. I've spoke to grooming gang victims over the past few days who have just, they've been let down from the government. They've still not received
ignored when
support.
they've emailed.
Okay, look, the key thing is we've made a bad start here, haven't we? The confusion is, obviously, Jess Phillips has not defended women on grooming gangs. You are Jess Gill, and you are defending women with the Women's Safety Initiative.
Jess Phillips wouldn't even see one of the groom gang victims.
But nonetheless, I made a mistake, and there was a typo on the sheet, which annoyed me slightly. But the point is still nonetheless true, isn't it? That Jess Phillips does want to say that the issue here with women is misogyny rather than immigration, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you actually want to tackle the issue of women getting sexually harassed, that isn't the way to go about it. I'm fed up of this narrative that we need to just teach men not to rape, because quite frankly the majority of men know not to rape, and the ones who are doing the raping already know it's an issue. That's not solving any problems. The issue is that we've imported so many people who come from backgrounds, who come from countries which do not respect women, which the femicide rate is through the roof. We've imported them to this country.
So tell me about this statistic about the number of women who are attacked by people who were not born in the United Kingdom.
So it's around 1 in 4 sexual offences are committed by people not born in this country, and foreign nationals are 71% more likely to commit sex crimes compared to the average Brit, the native Brit.
And some of it is racial. When it goes to court, it's never racially aggravated or considered a hate crime, when it obviously is when you hear the language some of these rape gangs have been using, like white slags and stuff like this. I mean, why is that not? It's a cover-up, two-tier system.
Yeah, they
don't
want to face the facts with that. They don't want to say that this is, like you pointed out, it is a racial thing. It is. These women are being targeted because of their race. It just so happens that they're white, and when there's racism towards white people, particularly working-class white girls who have been mass raped and abused, the authorities want to turn a blind eye because that goes against the narrative.
This is a bit I don't understand. And as I say, there was some confusion at the beginning. But look, Keir Starmer and Jess Phillips, right, are constantly, in my view, trying to cover up grooming gangs. Now, okay, it's not they're saying it didn't happen, but they're saying, well, we can't have a public inquiry about it. I mean, it was ludicrous. The whole Jess Phillips. Let's say that women aren't going to be able to testify at a public inquiry. And then they turn around and say, well, we can have a public inquiry into Nottingham, the Nottingham attacks, nothing wrong with that. We can have one into Bloody Sunday, nothing wrong with that. We can have one into the Hillsborough, the post office, whatever. But not when it comes to this. Which
is what the biggest crime out of all of those things by a long way.
Without that.
Yeah, I would say this is the biggest shame Britain has faced for God knows how long. And quite frankly, the fact that we can't even have an inquiry about it, let alone, let these girls face justice.
But also, let's just remind ourselves what Keir Starmer said, which was, oh, look, let's be honest, these girls don't want to tell their story, do they? It'd be far too traumatic. And in any case, they're all mentally ill now.
It's...
I mean, look, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah,
but it's not far off.
It's honestly, I've spoke to the victims, the families of victims of grooming gang survivors over the past few weeks as we've developed the Women's Safety Initiative, because quite frankly it's awful how the government, how the authorities, how social services have let these vulnerable girls down, and they've...
Well, colluded in a way. Well, they have, haven't they? And that's why they're worried. It's mainly in certain parties areas.
Yeah, but do you not think it is unfair to the Muslim community to say, well, basically, Muslims are all in favour of grooming gangs. They love it. They're really supportive. This Labour's message, by the way, they're supportive of it. And if we admit that, then we'll just upset them because they will not vote for us as long as we take a tough line on rape.
Yeah.
Now, if I was a Muslim, I would be quite offended by that.
Yeah, I'd encourage every Muslim to speak out against this because it is predominantly not just Pakistani men. It is mostly just foreign men. It's Albanians as well. As I've spoken to experts in this area, with the stereotype that it is just the Pakistani community, it's not true. But the fact of the matter is, you have these people coming over who are targeting women, targeting these young girls because of their race, because they're white, and the authorities have turned a blind eye because of their race as well. So it's racism in two parts. It's racism with the crime and racism in the fact that there's no justice when they go to the authorities
What about the idea that I had of the Chief Constable, first of all, the former Chief Constable of Greater Manchester being arrested and prosecuted for being part of the grooming gang? Now let me explain why I say these Chief Constables ought to be considered part of the grooming gang. Why actually Sadiq Khan should be considered part of it, not because they committed any of the sex offences. Let's just be clear on that for a start. But if you are somebody who committed the crime, and I don't know if they did, but we want to examine it in court, the crime of being a police officer that ignored a crime deliberately, and that is illegal, in order to protect a grooming gang, it doesn't matter that you weren't literally one of the rapists yourselves, as far as I'm concerned, with these police officers and the social services and the Labour councillors and Sadiq Khan. As far as I'm concerned, I'd prosecute them along with the grooming gangs they've covered up for.
Absolutely.
I mean, to be fair, it is hard to prosecute people like Sadiq Khan and the social workers than it is the police. But nonetheless, I'd find a way.
They called them child prostitutes, some police did. And, another time a father went round to try and rescue his daughter and they arrested him and she was raped overnight multiple times, gang rape, Well, these policemen should be in prison.
There was one case of a girl who escaped, and when she arrived, they said, well, we're not paying for the taxi fare, and phoned her abusers so they could pay it and take her back.
Yeah. There are stories after stories where you're just like, it's heartbreaking to see. And as you rightly pointed out, it's not just these grooming gangs that have helped this scandal continue. It's the authorities who have been at best complicit and at most participating in this. There's been so much corruption, so much scandal. But I also want to expand the image of sexual harassment outside of the grooming gangs. The grooming gangs are obviously the biggest issue, but on a day-to-day basis, I've been on this show many times before, vocalising the facts that I've experienced sexual harassment, just going about my day-to-day life in London, in Tottenham.
Explain what happens.
So every time I go outside, and obviously, it varies in degrees, but I've been followed. I've had men call me various things, which aren't appropriate to say on TV, but things like a slut or whore, that kind of stuff.
No, listen, look, let's just be clear. First of all, it's after 10 o'clock. And secondly, without being funny, whilst we don't like words like slut and whore, if that's what's been shouted at you in the street and you're a victim, then I think it's worth us saying what's been said. Otherwise the show becomes a joke, doesn't it? It doesn't mean anything.
But the whole streets are lost. I mean, obviously they're harassing women, but, Isabel Oakeshott, her reporter, went down and was pelted with, stones on roundabout in central London.
Yeah.
And so now the streets are unsafe and everybody knows what's going on. And and also it's filthy in certain towns because of bin strikes.
Yeah, absolutely. And
the whole society is collapsing with all this.
We can't even pick up the bins. It is a proper sign of decline. And again, it all goes back to the root of mass immigration.
I think that it does.
It does.
The reality is, I mean, a lot of community cohesion inevitably comes about because you are a community.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've always said something. You know, when I went to university, people go on about what's it like to live next door to 10 Albanian men. Well, look. Let's be clear. If you've lived in a street with student houses full of blokes, right, they're a nightmare wherever they're from. What do? Play music until 2 a.m, drink beer, and try and invite women back when they're drunk. Right, that is what happens. Right, and therefore, any community that's unbalanced in that respect is a problem. And university towns are a classic example where people move in for a year onto the streets, don't fundamentally care about the street, do they? Because they're only there for a year.
Yeah, what's the street in Manchester where it's just, I went there with a friend and it was just litter everywhere, it was just a complete nightmare.
Well, that's just Manchester.
Yeah, and you see students from like an awful night out, they're doing their walk of shame, just like strut towards their front door. It's an experience.
I'll tell you what Asher
Wilmslow Road, that's probably the centre.
I'll tell you what Asher said to me. He said in his student house in Manchester, when the plates were dirty the first time, that was the end of them, wasn't it?
That was the end of it. We actually had the council come and serve us with an environmental notice order.
I'll tell you one thing. Late at night, if you're a woman, without being funny, you do rush home, don't you?
Rush home? That was just down the road.
No, I'll tell you, rush home from rush home.
Yeah. I did once. I've been chased by some smackheads who were trying to get my money, but that's another story.
How often does it happen then?
Almost every time I leave the house, and when I speak to my friends, they have very similar experiences. It is.
And do you get the impression? I mean, it's very hard for you to know this for sure because you are a white woman, but do you get the impression it's because you're a white woman?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite difficult.
I wouldn't want to comment on that just because I have
quite
no clue.
Interesting, actually. Be quite interesting for your women's safety initiative to go round and then go round in a burqa.
Yeah.
And see what happens then. And just I don't necessarily know what the outcome of that would be.
You should have done one of your Vox Pops like that. That would have been good, wouldn't it?
I've got to admit, I
that.
bought a friend a full burqa and we went to the pub. And she said,
it'd be like that Carry On film. Do you remember what's his name was in one?
I'll tell you what I did. I went out and about once on the London Underground in a wheelchair. It was an experiment to see how many stations are accessible, and by God, it was easy in a wheelchair. Oh. It was so easy, but by the end we went from pub to pub, and in the end we began impersonating Lou and Andy from Little Britain. Right, which was it got disrespectful towards the end.
Oh, no.
Was it an electric one, or you had to do it yourself?
No, mate, push you out. No, genuinely, we did a piece of research when I worked at the London Assembly about how accessible the underground network was, and it has to be said it was really easy because what would happen is the rail guys would stop you and go, "No, mate, listen, if you're going to the British Library, you don't want to get off at that station because that one's not accessible. Get off at this one and get the 32 bus or whatever."
You get free football matches as well, don't you? If you turn up and you.
Oh yeah. Look. Losing a limb's a bad thing, but it's good for Alton Towers. Yeah, let's not. Okay. So let's go to a break.
Break it.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, this is the James Whale Show, but it's Andre Walker in for James Whale. I will say one thing before we say anything else. Yeah. He's sunning himself in Barbados, but in reality... What?
It's a good show. It's actually... Seeing as he's not here, I think we do a better show, don't you think? It's better when me and you...
What? That is not Barbados.
Who's that? Phil Mitchell. Why has we got Phil Mitchell? This is an exclusive. We got Phil Mitchell on the show.
That is not Barbados.
It's James Wales. He's in Hawaii, I think.
Oh, am I actually on?
Yeah, all right, man.
Oh my golly, I thought you'd forgotten me.
It's good there's no delay, seeing as you're quite far away.
You know, far away where?
Barbados.
That's what, yeah.
I'd love to be in Barbados, actually. That would be really nice.
Well, that's what we were told.
Oh, hang on. You're on such a small screen, I can't see. Hold on.
So what's going on, man? What, I mean, why didn't you come in tonight? Because you're on holiday. I mean, what?
I'm not able to get up at this particular moment in time, really, and walk anywhere.
Yeah.
So, listen, I'd love to be in I'd prefer to be in Antigua.
Yeah.
But that's just a personal preference.
You can do the show from there anyway. It's the quality's good enough.
I can't talk for more than 2 minutes.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then I get out of breath. It's just this bloody cancer thing. It gets on your nerves.
Bloody cancer, yeah.
It gets really on your nerves.
I know.
And so over the last week, well, it was pretty bad last Friday, as you know. And I don't mind being wheeled in a wheelchair, but I'm trying to get over that. So I wish I was on a beach somewhere, guys. I'm sorry. If you told me that beforehand, I could have made some kind of attempt at pretending.
You could have covered for us, yeah.
I was on the beach.
You threw us under the bus, man.
Yeah.
And but it's going to be nice weather tomorrow, isn't it? Or in the next few days, it's going to get a bit better.
I don't know, to be honest. I'm going to take some new medicine, and then when I've done the new meds, you can hear my voice has gone a bit funny anyway. Yeah. But anyway, let's get back to this problem of being broken into. We're being invaded in this country.
Yeah.
Yes.
But one politician is doing anything, and it's driving me a little mad on the outside looking in at the moment. And it's better for me to stay off and get Andre in, because I don't even feel well enough to keep you under control, to be honest. Probably.
Well, there'll be hundreds coming, won't there, in the next few days? Thousands.
Shut up, will you? Stop.
Well, I was just helping you. Yeah, helping you out.
The fact is that we are encouraging people to come to this country, breaking in, coming illegally. If they had guns, we would repel them. They might pick guns up when they come.
Well, they're
here.
welcomed in, aren't they? They're not even breaking in. They're ushered to their hotels.
Yeah, but why? And maybe Andre knows more about politics than loads of us. He's worked for Number 10 and worked for Parliament for a long time. I mean, what is wrong with these idiots? Are we frightened of France?
No, I think there's a remarkable moral cowardice. You were around in the 1980s, Margaret Thatcher, somebody who was just a practical person who believed in doing the right thing, even if it was difficult. These lot, I'll tell you something else, James, let's be honest. Even in my lifetime, but certainly during yours, the quality of members of Parliament has nosedived. Yeah. And the House of Lords is worse. It's a joke.
No, you're absolutely right. And it seems that they can do whatever they like without worrying about the consequences. And the consequences, forget everything else. I mean, these idiots with Ed Miliband, I mean, who would elect him? Who would actually vote for somebody that stupid? It just.
Well, to be fair, James, and the next election in Doncaster, it's unlikely anyone is going to vote for him.
Well, no, I think you're absolutely right.
General, not local.
But it's a lot of old school Thai people now. In the old days, in the 80s, you had grammar school people. You know, Thatcher grew up above a shop. John Major was a grammar school working class. So you had people that actually came from all of society. Now you've just got the old school Thai. You can have the job, and they're useless.
There are virtually no Labour MPs who've worked in the private sector now. Virtually none.
But you know, this whole extreme left idea, which has never worked in any country ever in the world. Nope. The fact is that people come here, they're walking through the streets of London and Birmingham and Manchester and Leeds and every other, saying "kill the Jews." Mm-hmm. Then they're picking on people like J.K. Rowling, and saying she should be killed. These are kids who are thick and stupid, by the way.
Yep.
Well, some of them are grown men urinating in the streets. So tomorrow, apparently, there's going to be some protests.
But why is nobody doing? Why is nobody controlling the police, controlling law and order, and bringing back some kind of dignity? We've lost all our dignity.
We've lost all our good police as well, and all.
The other thing is about protest. What used to happen with protest? Whoa, there we go, head in the way. What used to happen with protest is people would come once a year and make their point. This whole "let's move into Parliament Square forever" protest, or the Palestinian protest, where they protest every Saturday and they marched on Parliament every Saturday, even though Parliament doesn't sit on a Saturday.
Well, they run for MP for something not to do with like an airport in Pakistan or for Gaza. They don't even care about what it's for, really.
No. And we just let them get away with it. And this weekend with the marathon, I wonder if they're going to try and disrupt that. And the other day, everybody wants to come here, but nobody likes the place. What's going on?
I mean, the other thing is, James, you make that point. Let me make it further. If you sit there, and I will agree with you, if you say Somalia's a dump, I agree. I think it's a dump. But then they go, I need to come over from Somalia. Oh, but by the way, Britain needs to be more like Somalia. I'll take something else. Are you aware? Get this. 2/3 of asylum seekers that are granted a UK passport go on holiday in the country they fled within 18 months.
They should have it revoked.
2/3.
Of course they should have it revoked.
66% of people who've said they could no longer live in their country go on holiday.
So what do the politicians think they're going to do? We've been warned by certain factions that there could be a civil war. I don't believe that. I don't think we're too bloody lazy in this country. But we could be taken over, if you like, quite quietly, quite quickly, by very committed people, committed through their religions and various other things, that would actually...
they block vote. They vote together as a bloc.
Yeah, and they're within this country now, more than enough.
Well, there's 5 MPs already in that last election.
I mean, that's right. The Islamist MPs are unbelievable.
And Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah. And so why don't we just say to the French, sorry, we're not allowing any more in. We put our Navy in the channel. We try not to injure anybody. You know, people don't want to see that, obviously. But nobody's inviting these people to come over here. So why are we not?
But James, here is the similar thing. Here is the similar thing, right? The principle of a border has always been that you get to the border, you present your credentials, and you are admitted or not admitted. This concept of letting you into the country and then deciding whether they should have let you in is balmy. It's like going to Larnaca Airport in Cyprus and them letting everybody in, and then 6 months later writing to you saying, actually, we've decided we shouldn't have let you in. That's what's going on in Dover.
We must be mad, as a man once said.
A man once said that, did he?
Or Enoch Powell said it, didn't they? We must be mad.
We must be mad.
And it's come to pass.
I mean, as soon as you mention anything like this, you are then described as a right-wing fascist.
Well, now that's changing a bit now. People are going, oh, maybe he had a point, you know what I mean? And it was actually because of, that's when wokery began, and now that's, from then on, people couldn't say anything about immigration because they were just accused of being Enoch Powell and terrible, you know, when actually he said a lot of true things.
I think the wokery thing, you're right, Ash, actually, I agree. I think the wokery thing is, let me move my arms out of the way.
From the 60s, from after then.
Yeah, I think it's going now. But what worries me is that people marching through the streets saying things like kill the Jews, naming people that shouldn't be allowed to live, particularly the trans issue is pointless because it affects hardly anyone and doesn't need to be... How has that got so many people going? I really don't understand.
One final question before you go, James, is this.
Yeah.
You've dedicated... I'd call myself a debater, and I would say that's probably... that is your profession as well. You've spent your life... Now, whether you know, you've done the right thing or the wrong thing throughout your life, you have venerated the concept of public discourse and debate as a way of building democracy and making a society freer. I mean, as you know, as you, without being funny, as you come to the end of your career, you can't sit there and say that public debate is now better than it was when you started, which is a sad fact.
You're absolutely right. And what I, if anything, have done during my sort of 50 years of doing it, is encourage people to be wound up by me probably saying things slightly more provocative than I mean in some cases, to actually get people to respond and to think about it. Because when somebody turns around and says to you, I'm not interested in politics, it's boring, that politics is all about life and living. You cannot live without being involved in politics. You can't. People say, I don't listen to the news, I'm not interested, I'm just getting on with my life. Sorry, you can't do that.
But people got engaged with the Brexit, you know, more voting than any time in history, and then they've seen it's been ripped away, and now Starmer just getting us back in the EU, and they get jaded. They go, what's the point?
But actually, the favoured answer now to most political propositions is, oh, you can't say that, which is utterly ludicrous.
Absolutely. And that, you know, we got the third biggest party, the Liberal Democrats, of which personally I don't think there's much point to, got all those MPs. Reform got more votes, and they got sort of 5 MP. How does that reflect democracy?
And they've lost one of them.
Does. It's dreadful. Anyway, that is James Whale, and we'll go to a break and be back in a moment.
James Whale.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, we're joined throughout the show by Jess Gill, who has worked on the Women's Safety Initiative. Against it, has to be said, a lot of people from the government who are just interested in covering up these attacks on women. But I think both grooming gangs and also the trans issue. But anyway, look, one thing, and I genuinely don't know what the story is, but apparently you've been attacked in the Metro, the newspaper, right?
Yeah, the newspaper's so good that they have to give it away for free at train stations and the rest of it.
Hang on. This is not a pay-per-view channel, right? Come on, let's not throw stones. Sorry, go on.
So basically, I found out, I think it was yesterday, they released a hit piece on us, the Women's Safety Initiative, which is an organisation me and my friends created. A friend of the show, Anna McGovern, she's one of the co-founders, have created this.
She's not a left-winger, is she?
No, she's not.
I think Anna McGovern is not going to join your local Lib Dem focus team anytime soon.
Yeah, which is the kind of person we need for this organisation. Women who aren't afraid to speak up about how mass immigration has impacted women. So about a week ago now, actually, we created this organisation, and already we've had the left-wing media, the lamestream media come at us, calling us racist and bigoted because we dared to say, now that we've finally won at least some of the ground with the trans debate, we can now finally move on to, which I would say is a slightly bigger issue, if I do say so, how immigration has impacted women. You can see this with the grooming gangs, with just general sexual harassment.
So look, my argument is, I don't think religion is as big, or I don't think colour of skin's big at all. I think it's third world immigration.
Cultures.
You bring somebody from a dump, they will have the attitudes that are from that dump.
Yeah.
That's it, right? And also,
Well, if it's a misogynistic society, and a lot of them, there's some societies, that rape or harassment is the punishment for certain things.
I mean, let's just be clear. Female genital mutilation has not arrived in Britain because somebody woke up one day and went, do you know what? I really think we should copy that from Africa. What's happened is people in Africa who think it's a good idea have arrived in Britain, and the reason they think it's a good idea is because their culture's backward.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a
You
completely
can't say
imported
that.
threat.
But it's a fact, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a fact. If you believe that you should get an effigy of your enemy and stick needles in them and put spells on them, congratulations, you're backward.
I will stop doing that.
But voodoo, mutty magic. I mean, there was that child where they'd done a human sacrifice in Britain.
They found his torso. I remember
Yeah.
that. It was horrendous.
Oh well, and ultimately, when they go, I wonder why human sacrifice has increased. Look, it's not because your average bloke from the Cotswolds has suddenly gained an.
Yeah, there's no honour killings, you know.
Yeah, he hasn't watched The Wicker Man and decided it's not. It's and we are too awful and too politically correct to say, look, there is, the reason why the third world is poor is largely because they're poorly developed societies with backward cultures. And look, you know what? I don't think it's equal but different. If you run around in your underpants all day throwing spears, I genuinely don't think that your society is as good as mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
You can go around in your underpants. I mean, we all do that, don't we?
but you're absolutely right. It is an uncomfortable truth that many people aren't brave enough to acknowledge. But the consequence of that is the sacrificing of women and girls all around the country who have to deal with this, whether it's just casual sexual harassment on the street, or look at the grooming gangs. Look at Charlene Downs, who was chopped up and in a kebab shop, which was quite.
And the case failed on a technicality, and they all went scot-free.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, the Charlene Downs case with the kebab shop case is just absolutely obscene.
Or look at Emily Jones, for example. I'm not sure if you're aware, from Bolton, where I'm from, there was this case with this Albanian woman, this must have been 2016, around there, where she just stabbed this girl to death in broad daylight in Queen's Park near Bolton. This is something that I've had to grow up with, the Manchester Arena bombing, for example, where my cousin was there, a few of my friends from school were there.
I mean, the remarkable thing about Salman Beatty, they went into the family business.
Yeah.
Their dad was a terrorist. They became terrorists. Similarly with Mohammed Emwazi, Jihadi John, as they called him. The family were thrown out of Kuwait for being terrorists. He joined the family business.
And they used the social security payments to pay for the bomb.
But every time we see this happen...
And they got it after the bombing. They kept getting their payments, and they went back to Libya. And the brother who was wanted for, he's gone away. They lost him, and they can't get him.
Every time we see this happen, though, when people have to, people are hurt because of mass immigration, we're told not to look back in anger. We're told to, look the other way and not actually face the real consequence.
By the way, I thought the Don't Look Back in Anger, the whole Manchester One Love concert was a shameful display.
Absolutely.
I thought it was a shameful display. The city had come under attack by Islamic fascists who'd been willfully brought into the country. I felt sorry for the mosque, by the way, who had literally repeatedly warned the security services that Salman Abedi was a wrong-un, and then we're sat there lighting candles singing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
It was garbage. The reality was, this wasn't an accident. This was a willful dereliction of duty by the Home Office, a willful dereliction of duty by MI5, a willful dereliction of duty by the government. They brought in a family of terrorists. Then the mosque said, that family of terrorists, they're all terrorists, and we did nothing.
Yeah, and you should be angry at that. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that shows weakness. Those Islamists will look at that as weakness, and they look at the kindness. Look at these idiots letting us in the country, giving us 4-star hotels. They're such fools doing it. It makes them hate us even more, being hospitable. We've got to think outside our mindset, stop projecting it to them.
But the message from the One Love concert was to say, let's remember, there's no difference between any of us. Actually, there is, because some people are terrorists, right? The key difference between Salman Abedi and us is that Salman Abedi was a terrorist. We're not all the same.
The liberalness, what I'm saying is, if you're nice to people like that, they see its weakness and hate you even more. So we've got to understand how these people think from those sort of Islamists.
By the way, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, what amazes me You know, we've still... Mohammed Anwarzi's family's still here, £1 million flat in Westminster. The sister went to university, courtesy of the taxpayer. You know what? I boot them out. And I wouldn't boot
We've
them
got
out.
former Hamas leaders
I
living here.
wouldn't boot them out because it was Mohammed Anwarzi's sister. I'd boot them out because I'd say, look, do you know what? The war's over, go home.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the whole thing, I say this about Ukraine loads of times, you know, they don't go, oh my God, there's a war. What we're going to do is Benidorm's lovely.
Yeah.
We'll get over there. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, refugee means refuge, which means for a temporary period, it means then go back. Well, that's what refuge means.
We have to change the rules, as far as I'm concerned, on asylum, which is the war's over, you have to go home.
Yeah, that would be common sense, right?
If you then go home and apply for a work visa to the UK, I'm good with that. Doesn't bother me. I think also if your children are born in the UK to refugees, then they're going back as well. Simply because
if you're not going to accept British culture and want to change it, you're not really welcome.
As you say, you're not really seeking refuge, are you?
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're saying, let's pretend there's a war in my country, case being Albania. And what we'll do is we'll just pick a place in Europe. But we really like, as I said, I've said this multiple times, guys, the number of Eritrean, Somalian, Libyan, Albanian, all of these people that are so common, Iraqis, Iranians, all these people who are so common, none of them ever went to Moldova. Why did they never go to Moldova? Because it was the poorest country in Europe. And yet Moldova, at one point, 12% of the population were Ukrainian refugees. The reason is because genuine refugees go to the nearest country. The tourists go wherever they want. Anyway, have you got an earpiece?
Yes.
You have. Right, Violetta wants to talk directly to Jess Gill.
Wow.
We're going to leave you to do it. Violetta, you're on top.
Yes, hello. Hello, Jess. Are you too? You are known to me. Jess, hello.
Hello.
A beautiful young woman. Absolutely. You remind me on somebody called Jess, who used to be my student,
Jeff.
and I adored her. Now, I do understand what you are talking about. Big way. The problem with the immigration is just by the law of averages. If we import here young men from very different cultures, wherever they are, they most probably were not doctors and I don't know whatever nurses, teachers in their countries. They were just come over there and leave that's come here. And they come here in the age in between 20 and 30, or as so-called children with the beards. They have got no female or male companion. And they come into our country, and on the internet, on those mobile phones that are throwing into the channel, on the way here, they have seen all kinds of little bits and pieces that white women are this, blonde women are the highly regarded ones on their issue. And they've got none. So what are they going to do? They are going to be raping, and they are going to be mistreating women, even when they find one. And that is a question mark. And that's why we do have those raping gangs. And when somebody is not educated to respect a woman or a man, when they're educated not to have respect and be indoctrinated, basically, that is what they are going to bring onto the next generation as well. And that is why we are in danger here by importing people who are not equivalent and do not comply and don't want to comply with our culture.
They try and hide the figures as well in this country. There's some of them are coming out now, but when we look at Europe, they're putting out their figures, and it's very clear they're a lot more dangerous, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the natural consequence which anyone can see when, as you rightly pointed out, when you do import so many people from countries which just do not respect women, where the femicide rate is off the charts, and then you're surprised when this happens, when young girls are taken advantage of, when women constantly have to deal with this. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but unfortunately, the political class and the authorities, they don't want to confront that unfortunate truth, and so instead they'd rather sacrifice the safety and the lives of young women and girls.
That's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Can I ask you, Violetta, can I ask you this question? Asher continually makes this point. My instinct is to believe that he's right. which is there are people from certain countries who believe that the hospitality of Britain proves they're a soft touch that ought to be exploited.
Absolutely, yes. Not hospitality. We became idiots ever since Tony Blair onwards. The snowball is rolling. Our hospitality and friendliness and humanity.
Is it reversible though, Violetta, or do you think it's past the point, you know, that Professor Kelly, who's an expert from King's College, said we've passed the point where we can turn it round and civil war is inevitable within, he says, 5 years? What do you think, Violetta? Can it be reversed?
It can be reversed. Intelligence rules.
We haven't got intelligence in the politicians.
No, hey, that is exactly what I'm saying. So please let me say something in Latin, if I can still remember it after 40 years after I've learned it.
Okay.
Divide et impera. Please correct me.
Isn't that what's on the pound coin?
Pardon?
Is that what's on the side of the pound coin? Yeah.
Which brown coin?
I promise to pay the bearer.
No. You are funny, aren't you? Hey, don't worry. And don't get me started, because I can be funny too.
Sorry.
Divide and rule. This is what our politicians are doing since Tony Blair. I've been in this country for only 31 years, as an adult, with a couple of brains and still connected. Okay? And I'm seeing an absolute decline. I'm seeing this country going into the absolute catastrophe. Morally, our values have been demolished in front of our eyes. I've got 2 sons that are British. I brought them to be British. I was the one who was learning nursery rhymes in English. Oh, Grand of Duke of York. And if it happens, that was happening.
By the way, I've got to say one thing. My favourite thing that anyone has...
too much.
No, my favourite
Do you know
thing...
Jack and Jill?
My favourite thing that anyone has ever said to anyone was when somebody said to Sarah Ferguson, I thought it was the Duke of York that's supposed to have had 10,000 men. That's horrendous, isn't it?
Right, Jess, tomorrow there's this protest and, there's going to be, there's probably going to be a dirty protest is what's... And some of them are going to do it naked and they've been damaging statues, haven't they, recently?
Yeah. So the transgender...
They want... India Willoughby is calling for a mass urination. in Parliament Square,
isn't it?
It'll damage the grass as well. But that's not a very, that's not a female, a ladylike, But so, what do you think about what? I mean, I've heard some scientists saying it's actually a way that males lay territory, and it's something to do psychologically.
That's what dogs do, isn't it? Yeah.
That is, a lot of our tigers do it. They all do it. I do it sometimes.
And now the supposed new women, the trans women, supposedly have adopted such a ladylike.
Exactly, the suffragettes never did that, did they?
Yeah, well, we know what they think about the suffragettes because they vandalised one of the... Is it Millicent Fawcett or Emmeline Pankhurst which they destroyed? I think it was Millicent Fawcett.
It's anti-women because she's a symbol of women.
You'd think they would be supportive of that.
But it proves the misogyny, doesn't it?
These women who claim to care about women's rights and trans rights seem to very much disrespect these women, actual women protesters, women campaigners.
I think it's interesting actually. And obviously we're not going to preach it, but we've had to dump the little bit that you said a second ago because these people are walking around. By the way, I'm not being critical of you. People are walking around with obscene signs, and we've just decided that what one of the signs said that you've just given us the details of is so obscene that we're not going to put it out even at this time at night. But actually, you think to yourself, why are these people so provocative in that way?
It was on a statue which kids could see,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we're in trouble for repeating it. It's one of those.
No, absolutely. And to be fair, we sit there now thinking even at 11:15 at night, something that was publicly put up there, which I think in a sense you were right to mention, we didn't put it out, but it's just, I remember that Brian Hoare who was in Parliament Square. He just went mad and he was just using the C-bomb at school children if he thought they were American.
It's not necessary.
And actually, I just wonder. I think a lot of these protests are bad people.
Yeah, well, I was actually there last weekend, and the type of people there, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I don't mean this in a cruel way, but you could tell that they weren't mentally well.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of... I was reading this Scandinavian medical report that was saying wokery, a lot of it comes from people with, you know, mental illnesses or people, and often their political beliefs also come with depression. So there is maybe a reason that they become like that, and, you know, maybe it's because they were bullied at school. Something happens in
You know what I saw for the first time, actually, and honestly, it shook me in a way that I didn't think would. At this protest, there were quite a few women who had the... you know, when you get your breast removed.
Yeah, the mastectomy.
Yeah, and you see the scars, and it's just like, how could you think this is anything other than a tragedy?
Yeah, it's just like a mental disorder.
I have to say one thing. I mean, I would never... First of all, I think it's important in our position to recognise that a mastectomy is something that you shouldn't be ashamed of.
Yeah.
If you're in that position, I think, you know, it's incredibly hurtful for women to feel like they become less of a woman in the same way.
But this is people who've chosen it. It's not because they're ill.
But then to say that there is something marvellous about it, I think is an insult to genuine cancer sufferers or sufferers.
Absolutely.
I really do. Anyway, we'll be back in a moment. By the way, we did mention, I didn't do that deliberately, mastectomies in relation to cancer. We've got a guy coming up in a moment who's going to do the London Marathon dressed as a penis and testicles, and he's going to do it because he's raising money for a really important cancer charity. Do you know what? Let's try and send him
But you don't need a reason to run as a ball and testicles and balls.
Let's see if we can talk to him and send him a couple of quid. Back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and the London Marathon is this weekend. And look, we'll just go straight into it. Toby Freeman from the Robin Cancer Trust is marking Testicular Cancer Month by running dressed as a giant ball bag.
Oh, there is no penis, because there was a lot of discussion before. Is he doing balls and a penis? But I can see that is not.
Now, look, first of all, look, I just want to say to you that you had a relative that died of testicular cancer. Now, I just want to say how sorry I am for anybody put in the position. Obviously, I'm sitting here today because James Whale is off ill with cancer. My mother died of lung cancer as well. So it's something that we care about very deeply on this show, and we're glad to have you on. But first of all, I want to just understand your background and what happened to you.
Yeah, so going back to 2011, my older brother, he was 23 at the time, he was diagnosed with a late-stage testicular cancer, and I saw him go from the prime of his life to holding his hand on his deathbed. And as many people who have been through a cancer journey know, there's a lot of grueling treatment and a lot of highs and lows in between that. I've really condensed that story, but that's the reason that we set up the charity, because my brother was so health conscious, so fit and active, so aware of his body, and he still missed these signs and symptoms.
Can I ask you can I ask you a question? Because there are two things that you might be raising money for, and it might be both, by the way. It could be that you're raising money for medical research into testicular cancer, or it could be to encourage men to get checked where they are very poor at getting checked. Is it one or the other, or both?
It's the latter. So we focus on awareness and education. So going out and teaching young guys all about how to check yourself, breaking down the stigma and the embarrassment. That's what I'm doing on a Friday night, sitting here in my little home office. wearing my giant ball bag and running the streets of London. And then we also support those that have been affected and their loved ones.
Because the thing is with testicular cancer, because we used to actually, with James, we used to do a testicle check, on a monthly basis. And, it's obviously best to do it after a bath when the skin's, sticking more supple and you can feel any lumps. And don't mistake it with the epididymis.
Did James do it for you and you did?
Yeah, we did it, Richard. And the thing is with testicular cancer, if it's caught early, it's very easy to cure it. But if you catch it too late, it's a very quick spreader. And then you can't be done as so it's definitely something that is definitely worth catching early because it's life-saving, isn't it?
Absolutely. You guys sound like you're well versed, but yeah, hot bath or shower checks for lumps, pain, swelling, hardness, heaviness, anything not normal.
Pain in there.
Absolutely, go straight to the doctors. So 96% curable if caught early, but unfortunately we lose about 60 guys a year, and my brother was one of those, over a decade ago now, and we just want to keep advocating for them and raising awareness and making sure we can get that number as low as possible.
I do genuinely think that your brother would be incredibly proud to see what you're doing. I think that it is tongue-in-cheek to go dressed as testicles running around the London Marathon, but I genuinely think it's the right thing to do and it's phenomenal. I mean, look, one of the things that I always think that's difficult about cancer is first of all the indignity at the end, the way that they're so ill, but also I think that funerals are for old people. I know that sounds like an awful thing to say, but funerals are for old people. It's just so sad to see somebody aged 23, And
it's a young man's disease. It's mainly 15 to 40, although I had a mate who was in his mid-50s. But it's one that catches a lot of young men, doesn't it? 15 to about 40 years old.
Absolutely, yeah. Most common between 15 and 45, either side of that, we do see people. But, yeah, it's really those people that are in their prime of their life, like my brother was, and we just want to make sure that, not fear-mongering, we're having a laugh, we're breaking down the stigma, we're making sure people are getting the important message, but in a fun way, and just making sure we're learning these skills for life. Because
Did you make those testicles yourself, or are they professionally made testicles?
No, they were. I designed them myself, but a master crafter.
You did not design testicles. Right, let's just be clear.
The Lord did.
I do this for a living, guys. I draw a lot of testicles, so...
I mean, why just a matter of interest, why bother doing this? And what I mean by that, I want to explain that question properly. Obviously, you lost your brother. This has been awful. Why not just move on with your life and say, well, it's something that happened to me, but I don't want to spend the rest of my life worrying about testicular cancer. I'm not being critical of you, and I'm not being critical of people who would just want to forget it. But why go down the route of setting up a charitable fund? Why go down the route of raising all this money?
That's a really good question. We did it because there was a need for it. We set up the charity. I remember my father saying, if we're going to do this, we're going to create something because people need this information, and we're going to create something that's going to outlast us all. We made a promise to my brother that it'd never be just a photo on the wall, and we set up the trust in his honour. But it's not about Rob anymore. Rob is our inspiration, but it's about all those people we've helped, those lives we've saved, those families we've helped, those people we've supported through their treatment. And that's the real legacy of the Robbing Cancer Trust. And
when you save lives, because occasionally we get a call going, you saved our lives with that check you did on the radio. When you hear from that, it makes it all worth it, just one life that you've saved.
Absolutely. There's a video on our website that was shot a few months after we set up the trust, and my dad said with teary eyes, if we just save one life, it'll all be worth it, and then it'll be on to the next one. And we just keep on going.
Do you not think the testicles should be the other way around? Because when I first saw it, it looked a bit like a bottom with your head sticking. No, do you know what I mean, though?
I do. My two young children think I'm a big hairy bum, but it was designed with... I've got 500 kilometres to run in this, so it was designed with running in mind. I've got my legs free, my arms free.
I bet there's a couple of fans in there, aren't there? Have you got any liquids? Have you got any liquids stored in it so you could have a straw coming out so you could keep hydrated?
I will be. So I'm running Hadrian's Wall solo in June, and I will have a pack with my hydration in it. So
excellent, man. Can we have a look at the bottom?
I can't quite stand up because my office is home office is too small. But
Oh, nice. You've got the number. Robbing Cancer Trust. And Toby Talks Bollocks is at Toby Talks Bollocks is where you get you on Twitter, X. Yeah.
I do what I say.
Also, by the way, I will say one thing. I'm literally donating 50 quid to you right now. I'm not
Thank
joking.
you
I think it's a
very
great.
much.
I think it's a great thing, and I think what we should also do is you should give out your email, your web address, so other people can donate. Obviously, I'm kind of donating on behalf of the show as much as anything else. I can't expense it though, obviously.
He'll
but
try.
Please do tell everyone how they can donate as well.
Thank you. Like you say, you can follow me at Toby Talks Bollocks on all social media, or at the Robbing Cancer Trust, RCT charity, www.therobbincantcertrust.org. It's the headline piece on there. So
What time are you hoping to get?
It's going to be hot and sweaty in these balls. So
You've got to do at least sub 240, or is there no point taking part?
Maybe next year. This year,
Yeah.
I'm just going to enjoy it. The longer I'm out there, the more people see me, the more fun I have, the more awareness I raise, is my philosophy this year.
You've got a lot of cojones.
Well, there you go. So far, you had 1,200. You've now, I think, got about 1,250. So I made donation on behalf of the show, but I do hope that other people will back this as well. Just give us a sense now of where this money will go when you raise it.
Yeah, of course. So we have 3 main programs. So our awareness on social media, putting lots of information out all the time, education in schools, colleges, businesses and universities all across the UK, and our support services, giving out free cancer support packs and resources to those diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Sounds good. Are you hooking up with any other charities that do this? Because I know there's a lot in the footballers that work at TalkSport, a sister station that work. There's a lot in football, aren't there? Have you got in touch with any football clubs to get involved with it?
Not yet. It is on the agenda, but it's just where all the activities where young men might be. So football clubs are absolutely perfect. Rugby clubs, music events. We started with running. We're going to see where this goes, but we're all about collaboration. If someone does a service better than us, we will signpost people onto them. We work with all the testicular cancer charities in the UK just to help each other out and signpost to local charities. So yeah, partnerships are the way.
What's it like when you run past people? I mean, what's the response? Because this isn't your first marathon, is it?
No, it's absolutely incredible. I've been lucky. My charity owns the Colchester Half Marathon. I did Brighton Marathon earlier this month as well, and the response is just amazing. People love it. They see how silly it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's an absolutely amazing crowd, really receptive, and yeah, people get it. They see the serious side as well.
Yes.
I had the amount of runners coming up and fist bumping me, saying, "Well done, couldn't do that, love what you're doing." Messages afterwards of partners and guys that have gone and checked themselves. Someone found a lump and is going to get themselves scanned. So you can see the impact. It's it's silly, but it's serious, and that's the light and shade.
I have to say to you, I take my hat off to you. I think what you've done is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's always a sad situation, isn't it? Because if this hadn't have happened to your brother, you would not be making the positive impact that you're making now. It's just one of those cruel facts that there is no real solution to. But I want to wish you luck. As I say, on behalf of the viewers and listeners, I've donated 50 quid. We can go to Toby Talks Bollocks. Is that your handle on X?
Instagram. I am on X, and also you can find me on LinkedIn and TikTok as well.
Fine, all right, and I think we'll tweet out your web address as well, so people can get it. Well, that is Toby Freeman. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because I do feel a bit sorry for him, but at the same time, he's doing such good work. Jess Gill, you are off.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on testicles?
Oh, well.
No, okay, let's not. Right, we are going to be back in a couple of moments with the press preview. 0344 499 1000 at Virtual Ash.
At Andre JP Walker.
During the break, we'll put up the web address for him so you can donate if you want to. Back in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the press preview, and we're going to go through all of the papers, but what we're going to do first of all, before we do anything at all, we're going to go to Billy in Wolverhampton. Billy, you're on Talk.
Wolverhampton, Willie.
Hiya. Okay, it's the first time I've been on.
Okay.
I think that you guys have got a lot of stuff wrong about this immigration stuff.
What?
Right.
How dare you?
No. I'm not. I'm
Well,
totally
let's hear what
against
you
it.
got to say. Freedom of speech.
Okay. Okay. If you understand anything about the Sikh religion, right, and how it was born, right, do you know that?
Yeah. I do, yes. That effectively what had happened was, I think it's Mongol tribes had invaded the Punjab on a regular basis, and Sikhs converted to their religion, which is effectively a warrior tribe to repel Islamic invaders.
Exactly right. So you know what's happening in this country right now, right? There's always an agenda with Muslims, right? There's a case of there's a lot of stuff going on where there's genuine people and also people pushing an agenda where get more Muslims into this country, right? Where you've got MPs now saying crazy stuff.
But the reality is they're not trying to bring more Muslims into the country, are they? What they're basically saying is let's just open up the doors to anyone who wants to come from wherever they like.
Yeah, but different people got different agendas.
Okay.
Right.
Can you
in
expand
other words,
on that?
right? Yeah, in other words, right, if you bring more Muslims into the country and vote more MPs into the country, right, they will have a bigger say.
But they're taking their turkeys waiting for Christmas. If they keep inviting them in, they'll set up their own party. We've already seen 5 MPs, and that's what will happen. So why would they be doing that unless they're just looking at
That's a reform party, right? But look, at the end of the day, right, if you know about religion, all right, then I'd ask you a question.
Shoot.
Right? How can Muslims have more than one wife?
Well, actually,
it says so, doesn't it?
It's slightly odd, really, because they can't legally marry more than one person.
Not in this country.
But they can. But there are Islamic marriages sometimes for multiple partners.
What if they come here and they've already got 4 wives?
Well, I know Abu Hamza had, I think, 4 or 5 wives. Each one got a council house.
Yeah. Do you know how it all started? Right back in the Crusades.
No.
Right when the Christians were at war with the Muslims.
Yeah.
Right. The knights would fight the knights, right? The honourable thing to do, right, was if a knight killed a knight, right, the honourable thing to do would be take his family in and look after that family. It was honourable.
Looking after.
Well, that's the gallantry. That's not other cultures don't have gallantry.
It was, right? Yeah, but that's the way it happened. Now, because of that, right, because he took more women in, this knight who killed a knight, that means he's got more children to look after. That then led to Muslims thinking, hang on, now we can have more than one wife. Everything's changed.
I thought it said that in their book anyway, didn't it? I mean,
But the reality is, look, you're talking about a conspiracy here. I'm not sure. So I'm with you on some things. No, hang on a second.
It's history.
Yeah, hang on. I'm with you on some elements.
Where did you get this information?
I'm with you on some elements of this, and I'm against you on others. I'll tell you why. I don't think that there's any particular conspiracy for Muslims to take over. I just think that when you've got when 1 in 3 people in Birmingham are Muslim issues are going to be more significant in Birmingham than they would be if it was 0.
Well, some are openly saying they're going to take over, using our weak laws and our liberal democratic system.
But ultimately
against us, using it against us.
Hang on, if you create a tribal area where the entire population is Muslim, then they will legitimately want to enforce their own rules in that area. Now, I think hang on a second. I think what's ludicrous is to create the tribal area to start with, not the impact it has afterwards.
Okay, is it not right that when my parents came into the country, they contributed to society, they paid their taxes, they did something for this country. They never came here to seek benefits or anything.
But that's where we've gone wrong. We've brought in everyone and they can just sit on their asses on benefits. That's where we've gone wrong. It was good, the small immigration that we had.
You tell me, right, all these people that are coming in, right, that are young men of fighting age, right, where are their wives, where are their children? But I'll tell you what will happen, right, is they'll be able to stay here legally. They will bring their wives in. They'll have multiple children. Yeah. We've already got a situation, right, where this country is not producing enough children anyway. Yeah. We will be bred out.
But Billy, I'll tell you what I find really interesting. In a couple of weeks' time, there's the British Media Curry Eater of the Year award, which is kind of an amusingly titled thing. But it's actually got a serious purpose. So there will be 700 people at the Hilton in Paddington. It's a big event. Now, these guys, the curry industry, have got this idea, which I think is just eminently sensible. What they say is, look, we need people to staff our Indian restaurants, and we bring them over, not just from Bangladesh, we bring them over for Select specifically. Now, normally in an Indian restaurant, there will be 3 people in the kitchen, 1 chef, 1 assistant, and 1 guy washing pans. It's an incredibly lean operation. They need professional people over. Now, what happens at the moment is if they bring over the kitchen staff, then they can give them a work visa. You know, it's not easy to do, specialist skills and whatever. But then what happens is each of them, after working there for 4 years, are on the process to naturalisation as a British citizen, and all of them can then bring their wives and children. So what may well happen is...
You're assuming... Sorry to interrupt.
But the problem is we're not going to...
There are no people in this country that can do that.
The slight problem is I need to make the points about what they're saying before you respond, Billy. OK, so what happens is you have 1 Indian chef and 5 passports after 4 or 5 years. What they're saying is we need to create a work visa that has no route to citizenship, where you come, you work in the UK, and when you are finished, you leave. And what they say about their chefs and their waiters is they are fine. And they don't come over for the passport, but they'll take it if you offer one. And then it's impossible for us to bring people to the UK because every single member of staff we bring over is 5 passports to the council house.
There was one kebab shop that was found to have given out 700 visas, which obviously they weren't all working there. So, you know, there's a lot of rules. There was a lot of these fake university courses where they could come and bring all their family with them. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Billy, your response.
You know something, right? This country is so naive, right, that the laws are totally ridiculous, right? They're open to be broken.
Well, we're not naive. They're cowards. They know they could stop it. Of course you could stop it. They're cowards, spineless.
People are coming into this country, right, and openly saying that, well, look at us, we're living in hotels, we're doing this, we're doing that, right? That's an advert, you know, for literally... For everybody to come.
Why wouldn't you come here? You'd be mad not to come here.
The Michael.
Yeah. I maintain, and I might be wrong, and there's always people that invade the switchboard having a go at me about this, but I maintain the reason why these blokes are on their phones filming playgrounds is not because they're into kids, it's because they're going, look at this, come over, cousin, this place is marvellous. That's why there are riots, by the way, at some of those army bases, because think of it from an Albanian's point of view. Albanian gets a knock on the door, he says, right, I will, if you pay me £10,000, I'll give you a credit deal, by the way. If you pay me £10,000, I'll get to Britain. Here is the standard of accommodation you'll be put in. Right. Then you go to an army base or the Bibby Stockholm and you say, this isn't the accommodation I was promised. And you start rioting. Now, from your perspective, you've paid 10 grand and been promised a 4-star hotel. Your cousin got a 4-star hotel and you've only got an army base. It makes more sense when you think of it like that. Billy?
In here, right, these people that are coming into the country, right, earning some money, right, where do you think the money is going, right? The people that are bringing
it back home
into the country, they're sending it back out, right? There is a thing going on here. The other thing that's going on, right, is you've got Hamas, you've got people in Iraq, Iran, and whatever. They are sending people here.
Well, why wouldn't you? If you're a terrorist organisation, if you see the borders open, of course you'd send your terrorists, and we've had people that have done that.
This country needs to open its eyes up, and
Yeah,
see
well, yeah,
what's
but hang on a second,
happening.
We've had the situation we were talking earlier about Salman Abedi. Just a baker's son is a baker, and a candlestick maker's son is a candlestick maker. Salman Abedi and Hashim Abedi joined the family business. Terrorism. Mohammed Emwazi.
Their eyes are open. They're just trying to cover it all up.
Mohammed Emwazi joined. Mohammed Emwazi joined the family business. Terrorism. Even, I mean, Billy, fair enough, he's talking about people who are brought into the country with no vetting, but we have people who literally say, I'm such a terrorist that, you know, even Colonel Gaddafi doesn't want me, and yet we go, oh, come to Manchester.
And yet they'll go back there safely.
Right. Yeah, can I say something, right?
All right.
When America opened their borders up to Cuba, what did Castro do? He let out everybody out of his jails, all the murderers,
All the
the
bad
rapists,
people.
everything.
Like Scarface, the film.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right, but look, that's a fact. It might be Scarface, right? But
No, that's what Scarface is
What
based
do you
upon, the
think?
Cuban criminals that he's
Problem is
talking
with Billy,
about.
it's quite
So
argumentative,
basically,
isn't it?
what's happening, right? These countries are emptying their jails, their
Yeah, well, in the
prisons
Middle
out,
East, they're
and
getting rid of the people, the most extreme extremists, and they're saying Europe is now the home of the extremists.
Yeah,
Of course
if
it
you're
is.
going to open your borders, right?
Yep.
If you were in a country, right, that had problems with people full of jails, what are you going to do? You're going to
Well,
empty them out
let
and
me
let
make
them
it.
into a country that's opening their arms up.
All right, let me say one thing that a Pakistani friend of mine said to me, and I think it's a reasonable point. He said, you do realise that not everyone from India is a doctor, right? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, look, what you've done in India is you've gone round and you've selected the intelligentsia. What you've done with Pakistan is gone, who are the least skilled, the stupidest, the least well-educated, the most religious? Come. I mean, we've said that about Albania. Send us your waste of times, uneducated, stupid, backward, penniless. You know, can I tell you, right? The world champ... let me say this. The world champion figure skater... Do you know why he's the world champion figure skater? Because both his parents were world champion figure skaters, and he goes to the United States of America because if you get a gold medal, then you get to go to the United States of America, right? So both the parents left the former Soviet Union, moved to America, and their son is the world figure skating champion. So what we would do in Britain, we're not having them two. Who's the person who brushes up after them? Oh, get her! Her and a penniless family! Come over! What we do is we go around the world and say, we are the dustbin of the world. Send us your talentless. Send us your badly educated. Send us your religiously backward. Send us the people that you do not want. Empty your jails. Send us your criminal gangs. Britain is the dustbin of the world. I mean, they're having a laugh. Anyway, we're joined now. No, do you know what? Let's go.
We've got enough ice skaters anyway. No more ice skaters.
Go to a break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So we're joined now by Andrew Eborn, who is a barrister. We normally call him futurologist, but he's also a magician.
Hey.
So tell us about this lady in the magic circle.
It was the best trick ever. Her name is Sophie Lloyd, and the rules of the Magic Circle, it was founded in 1905, and until 1991, it was a men-only club.
Yeah.
So what happened is wonderful Sophie, together with the person she used to do a mime act with, devised a superb act where she dressed effectively looking a bit like Harry Potter in those days, and she put gloves on so you couldn't tell her feminine hands, and she developed a bit of laryngitis so when they tried to interview her, but she fooled the magic circle, and so she became officially the first person over who was female to become a member.
Now, when did they know?
They knew. So what happened is she confessed. They didn't discover it. She confessed when we let women in, quite rightly, in 1991. And she said, look, by the way, I passed the exam a number of months ago, and actually I'm a woman. And we've got the fantastic picture. Here we go. She's open sesame.
Did she get thrown out?
She's there. Well, she did. So what happens? They were so disgusted about it, they threw her out. And it's been a complete scandal. So last November, we started the hunt. I spoke about it on Times Radio, and the media went crazy about it. The hunt for Sophie Lloyd. And we managed to find her. And yesterday at the Magic Circle, we had a glorious... Well, we did. When the vanishing lady reappeared. So yesterday at the Magic Circle, we had a very special show. Lots of people came in. Some of our greatest female members as well were performing on stage. And Sophie was there with her family and also the granddaughter of the partner she used to work with. What I also love, though, is Matt's cartoon. It went everywhere. It went viral. When we had New York Times quoted me on it as well.
Oh, what a surprise.
Well, what a surprise. The famous female member. I mean, I know, but it was all about women and empowerment.
Andrew, funnily enough, there's a trans protest tomorrow about female members.
I know. I thank you. Look at that. Well, what I like, talking of which, the Magic Circle, Matt, the glorious cartoon of Matt today, it said, this used to, about the Magic Circle, there used to be an all-male society, but then Keir Starmer said a woman could have a magic wand. I actually came with one of those as well. So there it is.
Do you know there was Pope Joan, a female pope, and she actually got through. They didn't realise, and now as part of the papal process, there's actually, when they get the new pope, which you're going to have to do, there's a special chair they sit on with a hole in it, and a hand, one of the bishop's hand, just comes up and squeezes.
Was this a demonstration just before I came on air? I saw the guy wearing the outfit.
They just made that bit up.
They check the papal plums.
Is that what they do? What I love, and without the spoiler alert for Conclave, which everybody keeps referencing, I mean, it's exactly that sort of side, and looking at sort of thing. But it was a wonderful thing, so well done, Sophie.
So just a matter of interest.
You should be very angry about it.
I should be angry.
Because you're a member of the Magic Circle. You know, that woman got through.
No, I think it was
the bloke trying to find her.
We tried to find her, and we changed, and the rules changed. It used to be, and the stupid thing, the people used to say women can't keep secrets, so that's why they wouldn't let them, and that was the argument. But we let them in, and in 1991, Debbie McGee and Faye Bresser and various others.
But she's not a magician. She's the assistant. I'll tell you what.
Debbie's a brilliant magician. A brilliant magician.
Well, she never did it.
The problem is they don't realise the role that these women play, do they?
Well, they have it, and all the men doing prancing around and stuff like that, while all the women are doing all the clever stuff.
By the way, so you're in the Magic Circle. I don't invite you to comment, but you know, my uncle who's in the Magic Circle, he told me, he said, the main thing you have to understand about magic is it didn't happen. So he said, when you go, how did that woman teleport from one side of the studio to the other? She didn't. Right? And he said, so then you have to think about other things. And do you know what one of the biggest secrets in magic is?
What's that?
Twins.
No, I completely deny.
Twins.
You may possibly think
there aren't many women. I remember we had one on the show, a woman magician, Faye Presto.
Yes.
Do you know Faye
Presto? Of course not.
She was performing last night. She was performing last night.
You'd never know.
She was performing last night, and fabulous as always, which is always good. But interestingly, while he's googling away, interestingly, I couldn't possibly comment. Interestingly, we've got lots of women members as well. What I love, we've got the Young Magicians Club, so you can start from the age of 10 all the way to 18, and actually that's about 50-50 now. So girls.
Did you start with a magic? A lot of magicians say they got a magic kit when they were 7.
I was actually already doing comedy and presenting and that stuff.
Comedy?
I know.
Well, Tommy Cooper, of course, was originally a magician and became one of the greatest comedians ever.
Tommy Cooper was my favourite magician.
You could look like him.
I could look like him. I was very good. I thought I was there then.
You do look like, because you're quite tall.
Where'd you meet?
Where did I meet? The Magic Circle. And it's open to members. It's actually very close to Euston. It's a
Is it the Water Rats Hall?
No, because that's just a little bit further away. But it's near Euston. We do shows for the public. You can go to the Magic Circle website, see those. Fantastic shows on a regular basis. But we also do stuff in the community.
But it's a secret. Is it really a secret?
Well, it's not really a secret. It's not where the location is, because we do the public shows. You can have a look at that. It's on Stevenson Way, but you can have a look on the Magic Circle website. We do lots of things. What I love about it as well, the great charity work that we do, something called Breathe, where for kids who are not engaging, can't communicate in a sensible way, we give them a sense of purpose. And teaching kids tricks and so on and so forth, they get more dexterous, they learn to communicate with people. It's brilliant. I'll give you an example. King Charles is a member of the Magic Circle.
Yeah, I know he is.
And we have his cups and balls.
And he did a trick, didn't he?
He had to. So everybody has to effectively pass an exam.
Did he do a couple of
But why
balls?
hasn't he done them to us in public? He's never done it in public.
Oh, he does. He did for the Magic Circle Centenary. He did a trick for that. You can come as my guests. You're very welcome. Come as my guest. Come and see his cups and balls.
Without being funny, whilst I'm not a member of it, I'm a regular attender at the Chelsea Masonic Lodge, which is for people in the television, radio, and entertainment
I know
industry.
there are people there, absolutely. And the great thing about it, and we were talking about this earlier, and we were talking about this Mike Graham and the wonderful Mark Wogan, which is coming up on Grumpy Old Men, talking about magicians, coincidentally. And it's not about, there are no such things like bad tricks. What it is, you get bad magicians. And I always say that 99% of the magicians give the 1% a bad name. And the reality is there's some brilliant people, but it's not just about watch me, aren't I clever? It's all about engagement.
Can I tell you, I participated in a magic trick.
Yes.
Were you there? When we had that party on the boat?
I was, yes.
Where the magician threw my phone away and then it appeared in his pocket.
Amazing. There you go. Always
Do you know what was amazing about that? I said, how many phones do you actually lose?
No,
quite a lot.
Yeah, I remember at that party, he was doing some card trick, and he goes, what card did you think? Oh, and I said, I don't know, the 6 of hearts. And he went, look at your hand, and it was written on my hand.
Amazing. Well, he's also going on those boats at the moment. He's throwing away people's passports.
What's his name, that guy?
Like that.
Southampton guy.
He was. No, there's a lot of great people, and what I love about it, it's a unifying thing. We've got about 1,700 members.
You all hate each other, really, don't you?
No,
Magicians,
anybody
they all hate each other.
Glorious profession we call show.
I mean, what's your view on? I mean, it's one of Ash's mates, the Julius Dean type people who are now dominant on social media.
No, I think good for them. I think that anybody who's got a platform, anybody who can engage with people in a new way, and what I loved about it is very different presentations that you used to have with Paul Daniels, and before that David Nixon, and so on and so forth. And then Blaine came along and did it in that sort of grunge down
Copperfield.
This is a nasty joke, but somebody said, look, David Blaine's rubbish. He was locked in a box for 40 days, and people were impressed. Paul Daniels has been in that box for 6 years.
Steady.
But my mate went down to the box. It was a guy called Howard Lucas. It was Matt Lucas's brother, and he went to go and egg David Blaine in his box because he's a bit like that.
Yes.
And this security guy comes up and he goes, David says you're going to throw eggs at him. So he'd read his mind while he was in the box.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you where that came from. The idea of doing these stunts publicity was actually Houdini, because he was a master media manipulator, and he would do these wonderful stunts, and basically it would get all the worldwide news as a result of it. So that's what I love.
He was Troy Deeney's grandfather.
I am quite interested in magic. But Penn and Teller, if they were sat here now, would say they don't believe you should do anything that can't be done live. What about Dynamo, that relies on a lot of editing?
No, necessarily.
I've seen it. He came in once when I was doing the sport. He's amazing.
When he flew above the Shard, you can see the wires.
No, well,
has he got a twin? Because I've seen him do that.
I haven't seen his twin. He's a very talented magician.
He's also been very ill.
He's a bit mystical, like, he's a bit mystical.
And it's a different presentation. And what I love about it, you get such a diverse group of people.
So Darren Brown, he was great.
Darren,
he was good as well.
An unfortunate bowel movement, yes. So Darren Brown is superb. And again, it's a different way of presenting it. And it's all about the story and the engagement.
But I like Dynamo when he's hanging on that bus, you think it's just that metal thing.
No, it's a magic. When you go,
it's like that bloke. He's standing on a platform, right?
When you go to a movie, you don't suddenly say, "Oh, that was in a studio." Well, just lose yourself in the moment. And I think that's the thing about it. And the mistake.
You've got to let go a bit, man.
My favourite ever magic trick.
Go on then.
And I know it's not the most technically challenging magic trick ever, but it's Martin Daniels on Penn and Teller.
Oh, he's great.
Paul Daniels' son.
Yes, a very talented magician, and
you can get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I just love Teleport as as a thing. I just love it as a trick.
And the principle is that. And what would you do if you could do magic for real? And what I love is the people who create those stories, to create those sense of wonder. And that's what we need in this world. And it's also, as I say, I talked about Breathe as the project engaging with kids. Nigel Mansell, he had a terrible accident, and to rehabilitate him, he learnt magic. And it basically, yes. And so he's an unusual member there. Stephen Fry's a member of the Magic Circle.
Okay,
had some great people.
Okay, let me ask you this question. The cup and balls.
Yes.
Every single society in the world has had a variation of the cup and balls, and yet people still stick a fiver on it.
There you go.
Why?
Well, if it's too good to be true, it is. I mean, that's the reality. All these people, that's the word of warning.
Everybody knows the cup and balls are a magic trick.
If it's too good to be true, then
I don't know the cupping balls magic trick was.
Well, I don't think they're coming.
The balls are squashable.
Well, it's not about that. It's about the sleight of hand and so on. Yeah. So when people are playing on London Bridge and other places, it's like Find the Lady. It's an old con, and this is why people are losing money. It's not just losing money when you're watching it, because you often have people who are there is scamming people as well, but you get pickpockets and so on and so forth.
That's a sort of magician thing. A lot of them are pickpockets.
And there are the ways of doing that sort of stuff.
And allow me to ask a question about the morality of a good friend of our show, but who has been controversial, Uri Geller.
Yes.
Who is a magician who claims it's real.
Yes, he does.
But I have seen him do very mystical things, and they believe it themselves.
But Uri Geller only knows 3 tricks, although he does do them quite well.
I've seen him do the remote viewing.
What I can say, the remote and fantastic, and Uri's great.
But many, sorry, just to add to this, many magicians think that it is morally wrong to claim that magic is real.
I'll tell you what happens, and this is Houdini. Again, we talked about that sort of stuff. He used to believe in the psychics, the other thing as well. And there'll be psychics out there who believe. You've had people on the show.
Yeah.
And where they take, if you do it for entertainment, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're taking money from people, or you're preying on their grief, which is what tends to happen. Houdini himself, his mother died, and he was told by a medium who would get a message, and so he went along to this medium who paid money and so on and so forth, and then realised it was a con. Yeah. So he then spent the rest of his life exposing the medium.
But are they all con? I mean, some people maybe do. Do you believe in any sort of telepathy or medium or anything like that?
We have within the Magic Circle. So David Berglass was the president beforehand, a few years ago. Marvin is now the president this year, the first time in the history that we've got a father and son president and that sort of side. He basically was the head of the paranormal group, and so keeping an open mind. James Randi had famously American. He basically offered $1 million to anybody who could prove in psychic condition, in scientific laboratory conditions, that they have psychic powers.
But Uri Geller did it at the CIA, and I've seen it, and he did pass the remote viewing cases.
I'll tell you what we should do. This will be a challenge for anybody, because magicians can replicate a lot of what people who claim to be psychic can do. This will be a challenge. I would love to have anybody on the show.
We've got a caller who was thrown out of the Magic Circle, Hertfordshire Bob. What's happened? Tell us the story,
Hello, Hertfordshire Bob.
Hello there, guys.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm a lapsed member of the
Why were you expelled from the Magic Circle?
No, I wasn't expelled. I was just lapsed.
We'll try and make it sound a bit better.
But I want to speak to Andrew. I mean, I think, in my view, Jerry Sadowitz, who's banned from everything, is one of the greatest magicians.
He's hilarious, but he's a comedian. He's a great magician.
But he does get his willy out a lot on stage. Well, I've seen that. I've seen it in real life, and it's quite frightening.
He is the modern-day Tommy Cooper, as some might say.
He likes shocking, though. He's one of the best close-hand card magicians apparently in the world, but he is crazy.
Absolutely incredible.
Well, brilliant. But his timing and actually his technique is superb. And actually, Tommy Cooper was a great magician as well. It's rather like when people play the piano. In order to play it badly, you need to know how to play it well.
But apparently, it was at the time he messed up and he realised he was getting a bigger, laugh.
Getting a better laugh.
Did you ever go to there's a magic shop in London that I don't know if it's still around that he used to get his tricks from?
Yes.
Did you go to a shop?
Oh yeah, no, there was the Magic Spot, and there's Davenport's. Davenport's, you're quite right. Used to be underneath Charing Cross. There was the Magic Spot, which is a brilliant
astrologist. Have they all gone then? A lot of shut down.
International Magic is still there, and the guy was there.
Yeah,
okay, look, we got to. Can we just stop this discussion simply because food has arrived in reception claiming that I ordered it? We're going to go to a break and find out.
That's magic.
I'll make a disappear.
the UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Right, okay, so what we know is happening now is I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognise, which is actually reception, security control at the building or reception or whatever, and food has arrived. Now, I haven't ordered any food, so we're going to talk to the gallery now, and we're going to work out what is going on.
We have no information. I've just been told there's a bag of food.
Will you go down and taste it for us, and we'll wait an hour and see if there's any effects?
Our best man is on the job.
Yeah.
I just wonder who it could... What?
But we must find out before the end of the program.
It could be Vladimir Putin.
I know that Putin is around.
My mate said to me, I got a Fortnum and Mason hand pump
better.
once, and it wasn't mine. It got left at my front door.
Yes.
And you know what you do? You leave it for 2 days outside, and then you thought I brought it in, and then I opened it, and I thought I won't eat it. I'll just look what's in it. Yes. And then I ate one item, then two items. Then within a few days, it was all gone. And my mate who's Ukrainian said to me, "You have to be very careful. You might have been poisoned by a traitor." I said, listen, poisoned by a traitor is not a problem that happens in Britain.
Too many movies.
It does now.
Absolutely. It's good to be careful, but I think we should find out what it is and find out where it goes from. And it is worrying now.
No, I've got to be honest. They were saying you've got to be careful about eating the food, but what I was thinking was, well, hang on a second, I just want to know what it is. We were talking about Curry Eater of the Year earlier.
We were. I reckon somebody they want to get a bit of curry, a bit of favour.
That used to happen a lot.
I reckon there's a chicken tikka masala downstairs.
It did used to happen a lot on the old show. We talk about and then we'd have a lovely meal.
Look, clearly, subject to obvious security screening.
Yes.
Even if we don't eat it, I think we should bring it to the
We'll get Matt to try it, and if it won't be so bad, we'll still be able to do the show if something happens.
But people used to do that. I used to do a show on Nickelodeon a long time ago, and we started talking about bacon sandwiches, and I was sort of saying how much I love them, and they started sending them in the post. Can you believe it? Yes. So these things would turn up at the studio.
Nickelodeon, Chuck wants to know, because we used to get bagels sent in from the East End.
It was David Rose was the guy who used to do it. It was a live intercession thing. It was good. Do you remember David?
A bacon.
I'm breaking the fifth wall. I've done the
about
fourth wall.
25 years ago, Ian Collins got sent 2 unplucked pheasants in a box.
It
was horrible.
A what?
2 unplucked
There's a tongue twister there.
I'll tell you something.
Go on then.
Pheasants in Windsor, they used to give them away for free. Pheasants. You don't want them unplucked. They're a nightmare.
Oh no, I did. I went. Yes.
And the next shot, it poisons you. Your blood.
By the way, look, we weren't meant to be doing the front page. But by the way, the front page of the Telegraph is an advert for Savills estate agent. Don't use them. Just don't.
You can do. Anyway, the Daily Telegraph. Starmer to rent homes for Channel migrants.
Yes.
Yeah, appeal to landlords for more properties to house rising numbers crossing in boats. The Home Office has launched a drive for landlords to house asylum seekers. Serco, one of 3 private contractors working for the Home Office, is offering landlords 5-year guaranteed full rent deals to house asylum seekers. They'll pay for all the doing up, and they'll pay the council tax. They'll pay for this and that and all the building work. So, it's getting worse. They're running out of hotels.
Every week we talk about this.
One hotel group's made 700. Yeah, but we've got a story on later. £700 million this one group's made.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's scandalous. What we should do is be much, much firmer. People who are here illegally shouldn't be and should be sent back. It's very clear.
Do you agree with the concept that Sweden's come up with is the war's over, it's time to go home?
That is absolutely exactly. You can work on that basis. If it's no longer dangerous.
You can still apply.
Are you looking at what they're delivering? You're so excited. Look at you. Look, everybody's breaking the 5th wall. It's got to be good. Sorry, people.
But we're at the back of the pack, with immigration. Germany have shut down the Schengen. Poland have expanded border, and we're still accepting it.
We need to stop it. Everybody will turn around and say charity begins at home. We've got so many things we should be spending on looking after our elderly who have the choice between eating or heating and everything else. Looking after our veterans and so on. You can't even choose between those. We can't do eating because you're worried about poisoning.
I want to know what this
We all want to know.
Anyway, another one we'll find out. Labour donors praise for Hamas supporters, and Dale Vince, the Labour donor, praised kneecap. This is a ban.
He's a scumbag.
As it emerged that police are investigating the ban for showing support for Hamas. The Irish Republican band from Belfast, which received a grant from taxpayers, is being investigated by the Met Police counter-terror unit for apparent on-stage shouts of "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah." They also put F Israel on the screen, which is, supporting
Who are these people?
This band called Kneecap, and and people are calling for them to be cancelled, and the festivals that they'll be at.
They always,
cancelled.
and they wouldn't be on the front page of any paper if they hadn't done that. And this is the reality about it. I always say, P.T. Barnum, if you want to draw a crowd, start a fight. They're deliberately being controversial. That's what people used to do.
And they leave on horseback. And Dale Vince,
let's not mention anyone else.
M&S crippled by cyber attack on website. Marks and Spencer's been forced to stop accepting online orders after being held to ransom by a criminal gang. The retailer yesterday blocked customers from placing orders through its website and app. The systems has prompted it to call in government cyber experts.
Well, and this is the worry, isn't it? We've had so many of these things where we're relying on technology, and every week I will bang on about we should absolutely embrace technology and AI and so on and so forth. When it goes wrong, such as the post office scandal, you get the cyber attacks and so on and so forth.
But that was actually the computer company hiding things in that case. But you'd think M&S would have... I mean, the NHS was also using, like, Windows 95 when they had to pay a ransom, a lot of these trusts.
You remember when there was that terrible cyber attack and airlines were closed down and everything, even broadcasters got closed down as a result. So reliance on technology, we still need.
Look at this. I've got this. I took a photo of this because it's quite small. But transgender teenagers allowed on girls' wards. Teenage boys who are able to use for girls' facilities in NHS hospitals across England if they identify as female, even if their parents disagree, under existing NHS...
Is that now illegal, Andrew?
Well, it's very simple. The Supreme Court has made it very clear...
So it's illegal?
What they've worked out on that sort of basis. So they're now working... Are
they breaking the law, then?
Well, technically, this is that they've made it...
So they are now... This NHS trust is breaking the law.
And it's very simple. They need to get the clarity. And this is what Keir Starmer was turning around and saying, we've got clarity now. Well...
It was always against the law, but they've just clarified it.
The investigator has come back.
Oh, look, he's more interested in his Johnny Curry's strange food. What have we got? Bring it in. Bring it in. Break that. Somebody knows what it is. What is it?
What the hell's that?
Now, you're going to have to come quite close to me. No,
here we go.
You have to sit in the
middle. Come here.
It's the main man.
By the way, this is Boris Johnson's one of his sons.
It is one of his sons. Lovely girl.
Okay, so tell us what has gone on here.
What have you got?
What happened? Someone has ordered food to this
What is that?
What is the bag, Joe?
And we don't know.
Did you not open the bag?
Samosas. Well, they said it
Samosas?
could be Indian apparently, but it could be a security risk, so we can't...
Will you eat some, just a nibble on each corner, and then we'll see if you're all right?
They set fire to them outside the building or something
like
that.
They set fire to them outside the building?
It's been paid with lamb samosa.
No, it's basically... No, it's lamb samosa.
Someone's ordered us a curry.
It's samosas and it's paneer.
We like a paneer.
Indian cheese.
It's a risk. We couldn't...
Pop them over here.
It's not if you have it.
Have that?
That's why you have it, to make sure it's not a risk.
Okay. So look, clearly we can't bring stuff into the studio which we don't know what it is. But look, I'm genuinely, whoever it was who ordered this food from Tower Tandoori.
Yeah, was it Tower Tandoori?
Can you please identify yourself? We'd love to discuss why you want us to eat paneer on the show and what your interest is in samosas.
Well, I'll tell you what, now you've mentioned the particular restaurant, you'll never have to pay for a curry ever again.
So what we should do, do you know what we should do? To screw with the mind of security, we should order more.
But this is what people deliver things to studios. As I say,
let's just eat it. Come on, we only live once.
No, they destroyed it.
They have destroyed it. They should have filmed that. Send us a picture of the destroyed.
It's been a controlled explosion.
I'll tell you what, a controlled explosion on 4 samosas.
Well, that's what you would have had in the morning, wouldn't it? You know, the burning ring of fire. Anyway, look, let's go back to the newspapers and read.
Oh God, the newspapers.
I forgot about that.
We remember this news.
EU trade is more vital than the US. This is us cozying up to the EU. Rachel Reeves has claimed the EU is more important to Britain than the US, despite data showing trade with America grew 10 times faster with Brussels last year. They're full of it, aren't they? Downing Street refused to endorse her claims, so they're all arguing with each other. Miss Reeves told BBC Radio 4 today, I understand that there's so much focus on our trading relationship with the US, but actually our trading relationship with Europe is even more important. Rubbish.
No, you're absolutely right. And what's interesting, the mistake that people make, China. China is actually benefiting tremendously as a result of Trump and his various tariffs, because their biggest market is actually Southeast Asia. And what's happening now is, as a result of all these massive tariffs in America, China's doing more trade on that sort of basis.
They're killing it in their own backyard.
And one of the stories as well we find in the FT is about the US iPhones that's going to shift from China to India.
Because otherwise they get taxed too.
I've got to be honest with you. I'll tell you where I'm with Trump.
Yes.
I think the whole... I'm going to match your tariffs in order to get you to bring them down.
Yes.
It's not my favourite strategy, but I buy it. But he seems to actually want the tariffs long term because he thinks they're a revenue raiser. I remain to be convinced of that.
And it helps the Rust Belt.
I can tell you, I had an economist on my show looking at the actual figures. They have raised billions as a result of the tariffs so far. The interesting thing is there's two things. One is, are they really doing this just to make sure tariffs are nice?
Call Andrew in Salisbury.
Was there Andrew in Salisbury's going to come on as well?
He's the one that says he's ordered it.
He's the guy who said something. He's the samosa guy.
Look, the problem is...
Samosas
we're going to find Andrew in Salisbury. Right, I'll tell you what, we're going to go to a break, then we're going to talk to Andrew in Salisbury about the curry that's just had a controlled explosion in reception.
No!
More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this was officially the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Andrew Eborn. Andrew in Salisbury, can you phone in? We can't get your number from the text message system. We want to discuss the samosa issue with us. Also, I will say one thing, Andrew. You literally sent us the following text message. It said, the code is 17. Well, how are we meant to know that
there
was
you go.
for Deliveroo? Right, OK, what's next in the papers?
Well, as you said earlier, all US iPhone production to shift to India. Talking about Deliveroo. Deliveroo drawn to $2.7 billion meal deal offer from American rival DoorDash.
Isn't that good? That's as a result of these unauthorised deliveries of samosas.
Will it be good? I mean, there'll be less competition. I don't know.
Well, it's a wonderful business and this whole sort of thing. But what we need to do is clamp down on who the actual delivery drivers are, because the reality is that a lot of these deliveries, they're not doing proper checks and so on and so forth.
Well,
they need to check.
One thing that worries me very greatly is that, you know, and this is true, Deliveroo, Just Eat, all of them.
Yes, all of them.
You know, kind of 20% of the whole restaurant's turnover now goes to these companies. Yeah. It is sad the way, and also, you know, I was in my, what used to be my local Indian restaurant, the Ascot Spices.
Lovely.
And, you
Another
know,
place you'll never have to pay for a meal again.
Friday night, nobody was in there anymore.
No.
Just all deliveries now.
Oh, isn't that a shame? Well, they do that in Qatar, and that whole sort of thing. Nobody sits in the restaurants at all now. They all get delivered and things
well,
like that.
a lot of them now are just like, you know, a well-known restaurant. It won't really be there. They'll be in a, you know, industrial warehouse. And
well, actually, funnily enough, I'm staying with my mate in Gloucester at the moment, and he has 3 restaurants at the same place. I won't say the names of them.
Okay.
But there's a noodle shop, there's an Indian restaurant, and then there's a breakfast place.
Okay.
And in the morning it delivers breakfast, and throughout the day it has 2 brands. One is Chinese noodles, and the other is curry.
Yes. Oh, excellent. That's really good.
But there's a place in New York City that's 27 restaurants.
Yes, and it's
on delivery.
A friend of mine owns the Spaghetti House brand, which is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year.
I remember the one in Manchester.
Do you remember that? And made it started in
London. Yeah, there was a famous one.
So Luigi, and what I love in his family is one of the very rare to have a family business which has survived so long. So 70
There's
years.
a lot of those
By the way, if you've ordered on delivery or just, I think it's delivery. Sushi Daily.
Yes.
Is the sushi counter at Waitrose.
Oh, there you go. Very good. I think we will never need to buy a meal again. All these name checks. Talk about product placement. I love it. It's got to be.
But do you remember what Peter Kay said? He said, I mean, that joke that he nicked off Asher.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't said garlic bread. I wish I'd said plasma.
Well, there you go.
Right, the Times.
Yes.
Britain's best wild saunas, the Hot 20 to book now. So if you want a sauna, a wild one.
Do you like a sauna?
Yeah, I do actually.
It's good. And you have to then roll in the snow and get beaten with twigs.
We're not doing that.
I don't have that at my LA Fitness.
Is that right?
No snow.
We're not beating each other with rods.
It wasn't rods, though. Land deal is only choice, US warns Zelensky.
Yes.
President Trump's plan to let Russia keep occupied territory in Ukraine is set in stone, the Times has been told, as pressure builds on Zelensky to accept forced peace. Trump may meet Zelensky in Rome today on the margins of Pope Francis' funeral.
Isn't it sad that this is what we had at Prince Philip's funeral as well. People
He's having a pared-down
funeral,
the Pope, according to the FT.
Yes.
Doesn't look like it. Looks a nice place, though, doesn't it?
It was amazing. Will you be watching tomorrow morning? Coverage starts today.
I got the FA Cup semi-final.
Well, not at 8 o'clock.
I think so. I must admit, I visited Queen Elizabeth II's.
Oh, you did? You stood in the queue?
In Glasgow, in Windsor.
Oh, okay, yes. No, I filed past that. No, that's respectful.
Yeah, there's not much of it. I mean, they say she's buried, but my understanding is there's a vault underneath with lead caskets.
I've been there as well, and it is, and I think they're laid side by side, aren't they? That's the idea.
They said they buried her. I don't believe that. I believe it's a vault.
Do you think it's a vault?
Because the coffin goes down into a vault.
It does.
So how would it not be?
What I find disgusting, however, is all these people taking selfies with the body of the Pope.
Yeah, we had
isn't that wrong?
We had a discussion about this yesterday, which my view is, I think it is distasteful, but it's only a dead body.
Well, no, but it's not only a dead body.
No.
But why?
No,
why would you do that?
I ought to explain.
Yes.
My religious belief is, and the Pope's religious belief is, his soul had left the body, and it is just a dead body.
He's back in the home of the
But
Father.
they do treat it with reverence. It's still an important
the only reason you treat a dead body with reverence is that it was created by God, not that your relative is in it anymore.
It's an interesting take on it, but I do think we're now as society.
So like with my mum's grave.
Yes.
My religious view, is that it is an important place because her body is there.
Right.
But she is no more there than she is anywhere else.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand that.
It's just a transportation device.
It's interesting though, but nowadays in where people are filming more and more stuff, and when there's a fight row, somebody in trouble, they're more likely to film it than to help people.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think on that sort of basis, we need to question it.
But equally, and was it you, Ash, who said this? When we did a segment, I asked you the same question last night. We did a segment on Auschwitz, right? And what it was, the AI had written, hey, do you want to experience history of the Second World War? Come to Auschwitz.
Right.
It was really badly written,
yes.
this thing. But actually, a lot of Jewish people said to me, I don't care why you go, as long as you are there to witness it happened.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
But it shouldn't be treated like a Disneyland sort of experience.
I went there for the first time after, so when Schindler's List came out, and I watched that just up the road. I was in tears when they did the bit at the end when they were real people, and then walking around Auschwitz afterwards. It was, I mean, harrowing is it's absolutely horrendous.
His brother,
but you're right. You shouldn't treat it like
his brother Johnny said that he went when it was right in the middle of the winter.
He went on the Elon Musk one. He went then.
Did he?
He brought his little kid with him, which is a bit weird. But I suppose a young little kid, it doesn't really matter, But it did seem a bit.
But
weird.
I mean, I think that I don't know. It's really hard, isn't it? Because the reason I never went to Auschwitz simply was this: I believed I'd be going there for interest value, right, and which I think was wrong. I think if you have to go there for educational purposes, or you've got relatives or whatever.
Yes.
No, actually, if you've got a legitimate reason to go, it's not for me to tell you what that legitimate reason is. I went to Belgique, funnily enough. Yes. Obviously, there's not much left of it. There's just rubble. But I went there simply because we were helping refugees, and believe it or not, our hub was the high school where they'd rounded up the first Jews to be gassed in Belgique.
Yeah, horrible. I mean, the problem with that, there's so many bad stories in the press all the time now, is we get desensitized. It's all about statistics, and sometimes seeing it in reality brings it home. It's like if you personify grief, you put a picture on of one of the people who've died or whatever, all of a sudden it brings it all home.
I agree with that.
I think we absolutely, we say we must never, ever let things happen again, but still horrendous things are happening around the world. We need to keep calling it out, but handle it with sensitivity. And you're right, you're so right, don't treat it like Disneyland.
But I suppose the other problem is, back to Pope Francis, if getting your photo with him is what makes you happy, I don't know. I've got
it's a weird one, isn't it?
It's weird
because you want to have that
because you might have a
memory.
legitimate reason.
No, and that's why I always say that intention and reality are not necessarily a perception.
That's
reality,
a new one. We haven't got that one.
Perception and reality not always aligned.
It's a bit complicated.
It is a bit complicated, but the reality is that, and I do think a lot of things about intention. And so it's like when you call something racist,
you don't
do
take a
that
picture of a dead body. It's just disrespectful, isn't it? No,
I would agree with you. That would be my general view.
Yeah.
But
I'd have taken. I said my mum's coffin came back to our house because they took an inordinate amount of time in between the death and the funeral because of COVID. And we didn't want her in just the funeral direct, so we brought her home. She was there for a couple of weeks. And I know that sounds bizarre. I personally, the way we made the, if you like, the chapel of rest in our house so people could visit, I'd have taken a photo of it because I was quite proud of how we did it.
I understand, yes.
But then again, the coffin was closed, I suppose. But
in Victorian times, what they would do, because there was a lot of child deaths, they would, when they died, to have a memory of them, they'd dress them up fully in clothes, prop them up, and pose with the dead body. There's a lot of photos of that, but that was to remember the person.
But that's what I say. You're going back to intention, and
that was the family.
It's not a bad intention.
No.
But it's also, it raises the question about open coffins anyway.
But a selfie for Twitter is not the same thing.
No, just saying you'll be there. But this is the problem. People now record. It's like at concerts. People won't enjoy the big
experience. They don't see the concert.
They'll all hold up their phones.
They might as well watch it on telly.
The whole thing just to tell people they've been there. And
when they could buy a video, and it's much better.
I
mean, all you see. I mean, if you're like John Bon Jovi, all you must see is like the left side of the face, the right side of the face, and a phone in between.
I know. It's so upsetting for a lot of artists, and they get really upset about it. But I get it. People want to record that moment, say they've been there, but actually you spend most of your time.
But see, I like when I meet famous people, I like to actually have a conversation with them. And I always try and think of a good question. Can I tell you the question I asked William Hague?
Go on then.
Said to him, William, I've always wanted to know, what happens when you order a pizza?
What
and he went,
say?
What do you mean? I went, well, imagine you pick up the phone and you go, hello, I'd like a cheese and tomato pizza. It's William Hague.
Yes.
Oh,
bring me 14 pints with it as well.
Start off, mate.
And send Andre some samosas. This is your fault.
He said, me and Fiona are not really into pizzas.
Yes.
But we are into Chinese. Yes. And he said, for that very reason, Fiona phones up.
That's hilarious.
And he goes, I'd like 2 chicken chow mains. It's William Hague. Not happening, mate.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? They work on that sort of base. And you're right. And it's like shouting at celebrities who have catchphrases. They're so patient all the time. When they shout out the catchphrase, phrase. So yesterday at the Magic Circle, we had Brian Conley there all the time. It's a puppet, you know, that sort of stuff.
No, why has he got a catchphrase?
He did. You know Brian Conley.
I'll tell you the only thing I don't like about being, you know, a Z-lister or whatever is, I mean, not being an A-lister. So, the worst thing about being a Z-lister is not being an A-lister. Okay, but what people do with me is they walk up and they go, I'm really sorry to bother you, and you think, we're safe now, it's good, I'll talk to you now, because it's all good, because you know now that they're aware that I don't know how long they're going to be there for, but I'll tell you the worst one. On the train coming into work and somebody's shedded. And it's an hour.
Oh, no.
And they sit next to you.
Yes.
And you think, it's an hour. No, I don't want to talk to you for an hour. And you're pissed.
Oh, right.
No, they're drunk.
Well, no, the worst thing is if you're in the washrooms or something like that and people start those sort of conversations or the whatever.
I remember.
But also, what I like about it, and there's some people who treat people really nicely because it means a lot to certain people that they're meeting, whoever they want to meet. And it's going back to that sort of stuff. It gives them a sense of purpose.
Yeah, but everybody,
also works on that sort of basis.
Everybody who sees a celebrity thinks, oh my God, that's a celebrity, don't they, right? I think it's quite good. I mean, I'll tell you the one that used to make me laugh was Holmes Chapel in Cheshire, where the former baking assistant was Harry Styles.
There you go.
And they said at the height of One Direction, they used to have to deploy every single riot officer to sort of this small community of, I think, 2,500 population. And it used to have sort of 400 riot police when it turned
up. They always say be careful what you wish for, because on the way up, people are so desperate for that attention. And on the way down, they'll be desperate for it again. Treat everybody with respect.
The big stars don't mind it. I mean, I was riding down the banks of the Thames in Chiswick, and some guy, I had my glasses and a hat on, and he waved me down and goes, you're the guy from, and he goes, I go, and he goes, and I said, do you like the show? He goes, no.
No, but that's good. But actually,
I liked it though,
The good thing is, the best advice is treat people with respect.
Look, I want to ask the gallery, am I allowed to tell my story?
Yes, breaking the fifth wall.
When he got chased by the transvestite in the tube.
Yeah, have I told that one before?
That's a great do it after the news to keep people there.
I'll tell you what we'll do.
Teaser,
so the phone number is 0344 499 1000. I will tell you about the story with the trans activist.
Got chased around the tubes.
I got chased around the Jubilee line.
By an aggressive who didn't urinate on you, but it came close.
So also Andrew in Salisbury has not been in touch, and we did lose his samosa. I'm not.
Security are probably eating it.
I'm not joking. It was destroyed for security reasons. Right. Also, I mean, look, no, I shouldn't tell that security detail. That's going to get us into trouble. Okay, so let's do all of the social medias before we do the phones. What's yours?
So it's at Andrew Eborn, at Octopus TV. On YouTube, you can join the Octopus TV channel. You'll see the Andrew Eborn Show, more platforms than Paddington, and it's free, everybody's favourite four-letter word.
Have you ever had Errol Musk on? Yeah, he has all the time.
It started with a kiss.
Yes, I'm very good friends with Elon.
It started with a kiss.
That's very good.
Who's closer to Errol, you or Elon?
Well, very good question.
Probably.
Well, no, but we talk a lot, and I think that's very good.
He bought him a car, but he didn't buy him a Tesla. He bought him a Bentley.
They have no charging points in South Africa.
Racist, Andrew. Very racist. I'm sure there's plenty
He was
of
offered a Tesla, but they didn't have enough charging points. So Elon sent him a Bentley instead, which was like...
Okay, so yours is Virtual Ash.
Virtual Ash. Most importantly, at Virtual Ash.
At Andre JP Walker. What I also want you to do is I want you to go on my YouTube. Andre Walker is where the really fruity stuff goes to live. Now, we're going to be taking your calls in a couple of moments, and I think we've got 3 slots available. So if you call now, you will get through 0344 499 1000. Do you want to talk about the trans issue? Do you want to talk about the fact that some NHS bodies are going to defy the court's ruling and indeed the law? Just really shameful that they've done that. Also, do you want to talk about the number of homes? Starmer is now saying that homes will be rented for channel migrants. And what about, I mean, nobody's going to comment on Trump versus Zelensky. Also, will you be watching the papal funeral tomorrow? Is it just a vanity exercise or is it a really important thing? And I will tell you my story about the transphobia incident. 0344 499 1000. Back in a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Andrew Eborn. I just want to tell you the story of when I got on the tube at Westminster. And when I was stood there, Sam Armstrong got on. Sam Armstrong, you may remember, is a contributor on the Julia Hartley-Brewer breakfast show, or it was. I mean, I think he's still a contributor on Hartley-Brewer, but obviously on the new show. Anyway, so remember that video I made, What is a Woman? We showed it last week. This guy was sat there and he was drinking, you know, those little cans of M&S?
Yes.
And he goes, that is a woman. And I went, ha ha ha, waved him. And he went, transphobic fat bitch. Right? I went, oh dear. Right? And he was just kicking off. He's going, that transphobic fat bitch. And the guy, it's disgusting what he said. Right? You know, the real sort of, oh, dreadful. Anyway, so he's shouting at me like mad. And I said to Sam, I went, I think he's a fan. Right? So anyway, we got off and I'm walking along and I get on the tube once again with Sam and he runs past, you know, there's a standing tube in the run bit, and he runs past, he goes, you'd be able to run as well if you weren't a transphobic fat bitch. so then, no, this doesn't stop.
Not funny.
We get to the top of the escalator.
Yes.
Terrible.
Where he waits.
Oh no!
And lets me go past and goes, transphobic fat bitch. No. And then I got on to the next, you know, there's two escalators.
So he was very quick, like Bugs Bunny. He was just there.
And I get on, and he ran past, he's like, you still can't run, you transphobic fat bitch. And that was it. And everyone's looking at me, I'm going, hello.
Very good. And now on line 7.
Why did he think that? Did you give him a funny look or something?
Good.
No, it was the What is a Woman video.
But were you scared?
I wasn't scared.
No, because that's the thing.
I mean, look, I don't know if you can guess from the voice, but I reckon I'd have taken him in a fight.
No, but I understand. But there are people who they work on that sort of base. They say things in the public eye, and they will tag for them. And what we love about it, poor old Joe. This is what I love, the way he sneaks in. It's there. Thank you.
Some people asked me the other day whether I'm ever afraid that somebody's going to attack me.
Yes.
It's honestly never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I did remember a few years ago.
That's what they want you to think.
I put a bounty on my own head of £50,000 and told the Islamic State to kill me. I sent them my address.
Don't do that. I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, I mean, Ross McGuirter did that to the IRA, and they took him up on his offer.
I think it's very dangerous. And actually,
I don't think it is.
What we try to do here, is actually encourage debate. So war, not
no. The reason
do that sort of thing. But you should never be scared.
The reason why I did it was to prove a point that I think these terrorists actually just bully kids, not adults.
Well,
it was after the Ariana Grande thing.
People have been killed, and those in the public eye.
No, but by professionals like the IRA, not these idiots who sit there reading Guns and Ammo magazine, dreaming of a jihad.
You've had a couple of politicians who, in this show, have been attacked and so on and so forth. So you do get the lone people. What I would encourage is
anyway, still alive.
Well done. Don't keep it that way, at least till the end of the show. Get that samosa. The reality is that we've got to be able to have an environment where we can discuss things. It doesn't matter what the views are.
Sunlight's the best disinfectant.
It is, and all like war, not George.
Well,
that's what we want. George, not war.
Loads of lashings of calls.
We had a conversation with James Whale earlier, and I said to him, as you come to the end of your career, the reality is political debate, which you've dedicated your life to, is not as open as it was. Anyway, Paula's in Halifax. Paul, are you on talk?
Hello, Paul.
Hi, Trouble.
Hello.
Paula, I think.
It's Paula.
Yes, it's me. Have you been watching Big Brother?
No. Was Michael Fabricant on?
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? He's out now.
Was Michael Fabricant on?
I don't know. You're not in with wig.
It's not a wig. It's natural hair.
He was voted out. One of the things that we were worried about is related to the toilets in the Big Brother house. Any problems related to them? He doesn't always need a toilet, if I'm being wholly honest. Yes, let's not go any further.
Right, well, let me speak.
David Platt won Big Brother tonight. What, the former Villa and England midfielder? Did David Platt do choreography his football
David Platt's a footballer.
Yeah, so he did choreography after he was a... He's Gail Platt's son as well. So that's just amazing. David Platt, it turns out, was Gail Platt. Oh, Rita!
They're all saying the same thing.
My favourite thing, Paula, I'll tell you, my favourite thing I've ever seen was when there was Do you remember Gail Platt got into a fight on Coronation Street, and later on, Keith Lemon ran the Gail Platt versus Predator,
Yes.
where Gail Platt played Arnold Schwarzenegger in the trailer. It's absolutely brilliant. So David, can we establish which David Platt it is? And who
Well,
he is?
I'm just looking. I know. What was the point you wanted to make, Paul? And then we'll come back to you.
Yes, is it okay if I speak to you this evening?
Go on, then. You can talk to me this evening. Of course you can. Go for it.
No.
Yeah, other two are idiots.
Triple A, go for it, Paula.
Just cut her off like that. I won't.
Did you say you was a lawyer?
Yeah.
They said I was a
Not
lawyer.
that
but yes,
Labour MP is.
I am. My background is as an intellectual property lawyer.
He's a barrister.
Yeah. Both of you, shut up.
I'm not saying anything.
Don't be rude to Andrew.
Go on, Paula.
Shut up. Right. You say you was a lawyer?
He is.
Yes.
Right. I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes,
You
please.
have to be careful because he can't give legal advice.
You will be invoiced.
Yeah.
You will
I
be invoiced for
understand
it.
that. And there's no legal things going on. It's just.
Is it about David Platt?
No, it's not. You did.
Well, I'm trying to keep it relevant.
Go on, Paula. Ask away.
Right. So just a little bit of advice off you, really.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that. But what's the question?
Right. Shut up and let me speak.
Well, if you could get it out, please.
Oh, well, if you shut up.
Go for it, Paula. Just ask your question. What would you like to know?
My daughter.
He charges by the minute.
My daughter got a non-molestation order against me. It's nothing legal now. It's all done based on getting statements
Yeah, we can't really
via
talk about
lies.
this sort of thing. We can't talk about this sort of thing. You know, non-molestation order. That's a proper. You know, this is not for being on air. But thanks, Paula. You can book him in a private capacity. He's very expensive, though. Do you want to say anything about Big Brother? Because we can't really talk about that, Paula.
No, right, that's fine. Don't worry. I didn't realise.
No, that's all right. What about Big Brother?
Yeah,
Let's keep it
Big
light.
Brother, David Platt won. Yippee! I knew he would.
Yes, they were saying about this sort of thing, and they say Jack Shepherd. Well, they said Jack Shepherd has been announced as the winner of Big Brother this series.
Well, hold on. Is it David Platt or Jack Shepherd?
It would have been easier if we'd have said Jack Shepherd rather than David Platt.
So David Platt wasn't even in it. This is misinformation.
So I'm just Paul. I'm reading from the Daily Star. So this is news.
Is it Gail Tilsley? Is that Gail Tilsley you were talking about?
And it's a spoiler alert for people who haven't watched it yet. Celebrity Big Brother winner 2025 announced, with fans all saying the same thing. The winner of Celebrity Big Brother has been announced following a dramatic series with a housemate kicked out on a controversial relationship. But fans are focused on one thing. Did you watch all of it?
Did you see that American guy?
Yes.
Mickey Rourke was kicked out. Yeah.
Tried to go for someone.
What did you think of that, Paula? What did you think of Mickey Rourke?
I want a massive fan.
Well, what's interesting for me, and a lot of people have raised this, he was deliberately booked knowing what he's like. Because that's what they want. They want people to come to the programme and so on and so forth.
I think they were wrong to have Michael Fabricant on because he's just poo, isn't he?
I mean, he would just continuously starting on people, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I remember when they threw Biggins out.
No, I'm sorry. In that show, let's be clear, Fabricant was a bit of a shit.
But Christopher Biggins, when he was in there, he said there's no such thing as bisexuality, and they threw him out. And then Ofcom said, no, he's fine, that was his own view, and so he was actually forgiven, but he'd already been thrown out. So sometimes you say things, and it's your right to have these views in freedom of thought, and so I don't quite know what Mickey Rourke did, but it was.
Well, he had a number of those. There's some very aggressive. The clips that I've seen.
He had a couple of episodes.
He did, didn't he? Yes.
But he was the biggest star, the biggest draw, and I think they paid him. They might try and get out of it now, but they get rid of their biggest, most.
Grand or something.
Well, no. So what's interesting, Paula, as I understand it in the contract, if you're taken out because you break the rules, you don't get all your money.
Do you remember when Leo Sayer was moaning about his pants not being cleaned?
Yes.
He demands nothing.
He demands Coca-Cola.
He doesn't like.
No, that was that was John McCririck,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it was John
10 to 1
McCririck,
favourite.
Where's my Diet Coke?
And Vanessa was in the Big Brother house as well, and she
started going a bit, funny.
She used to write on the blackboard.
Of course, James Wales was in it.
I went to dinner with Vanessa after she had her stomach stumped, stomach stapled, and I will say one thing that was quite funny. She hoovered up the chocolates even before the starter arrived. You know, it wasn't about quantity, it was about calorie.
Because you haven't got much room if you had it. Sorry, Paula.
Go for it, Paula. What would you like to say?
James Whale was in it.
Yes,
I said that 10 minutes ago.
He was great. Did you like seeing James in it?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And that's what I love about anybody going into the Big Brother house or any of these celebrity things have got to be aware of the fact that it is 24/7. And also what's going to happen is they're going to edit the best bits. So what they can work on the sort of basis is they can make you look really good or really bad.
But James Wales, and this is quite a good ploy, you actually get paid more the earlier you get kicked out because you get the same fee and you've only done a week and you get loads of money. So, you know what I mean?
Dear.
Yeah.
Do you remember when that guy from Coronation Street, that woman who
Eddie Yates
hit her and stuff when he hung?
Yes.
No.
Somebody told me that on I'm a Celebrity, you get to just stay in that luxury hotel.
Yeah, you do. It's a real luxury.
Was Anton and Dentist? I know some people on the production team there.
Why don't you go in it?
I couldn't possibly comment. Watch this space.
So I mean, they were. I think like Big Brother kind of sniffed around a little bit. Do you know what? So I had the conversation.
Not my Big Brother.
I had a conversation with Danielle Nichols about
Yes.
it. She's desperate to get on. I'm desperate not to. And she said,
I'd love to see Danielle in.
She said the problem is because she'd be really popular. I'd just be edited to look like a complete arse.
They wouldn't even need to edit you.
Shut up. At least I wouldn't be wiggy fabricant.
That's because you know well.
But it is interesting. People. So Nigel Farage came third, I think, didn't he? And they also had. So a lot of politicians who actually surprised.
George Galloway and I will be the cat lapping out Rulesca's hand.
You remember those glorious moments, don't you? Matt
That's stung in my mind. Him in a leotard lapping milk.
Do you remember him who were doing that? Just as a cat licking milk.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you remember the saucer? It's very
thanks,
good.
Paula. Let's go to Phil in Worthing.
Hello, Phil. Worthing's just up the road from where I used to be.
Hello, good evening.
All right, Phil. What's going on, man?
Well, looking forward to tomorrow, Ash, as you are.
Are you going? I'm going down Wembley.
No, main reason, Ash.
Not
is
the Villa.
Calling.
Yeah.
I'm calling to speak to Andre, particularly because he's got a very good knowledge of history and economics.
Start of a 10.
Andre, if you look at the 1949 Subjects Act for the United Kingdom, it enabled all of our Commonwealth people to come here with a British passport. Yeah. Now, in 1983, that changed, but there was a loophole that they didn't. The lawyers, surprise, didn't get it right. And it naturalised all the people who are already here as citizens, quite rightly, but the loophole allowed more to come in. So the Pakistani community went from 30,000 in 83 to 300,000 in Birmingham. That's 30% of the population.
So I don't know the full details, but one would assume that when they said then they're ending this right, but everyone who lives here is automatically given citizenship, one of the benefits of citizenship is you can claim citizenship for your wife and children. So one would assume that's what...
Interestingly, I mean, are you talking about the which bit of the loopholes? Because there's so many loopholes in all these things.
I'm just saying, gentlemen, that I'm not, I'm only a bod, But what I can see, glaring hole there in the legislation, an opportunity there to do things for the future, to put a stop to it. And now that you've got everybody in the world.
Well, from 1950s to about 97, we had 1 million in total. Now we get that on a yearly, annual basis, and that just tells you we can't cope with this.
But just be really clear for people who don't know what the loophole is. What's the loophole you're talking about?
Well, what it is Enoch Powell talked about this as our unique problem in the United Kingdom is people with subjects.
I don't think you got a British passport just because you were in the Commonwealth.
No. Let's just explain something. You have to understand historically, that everyone who lived in British territory was British, but very few people moved around the globe.
You didn't have the right to a British passport and to come and live here.
Absolutely did.
And the same was here. We didn't have the right to go and live in other parts of the Commonwealth.
You absolutely did. And actually, whilst not many people came to the United Kingdom, I'll tell you what did happen. Pakistan. A large number of Indians went to South Africa, as an example. So look. What happened was, obviously, people didn't really encourage anyone to come to the UK. Then what happened is, obviously, after the Second World War, they began encouraging people. Yeah. And in 1983, they started, well, you're giving the dates, I don't know, but they began tightening up on things significantly. But look, my guess on the loophole would be very simply this. I think there's an obvious thing, and we did it with the EU, didn't we? We said the EU residents no longer have a right to live in the UK, but those that already live here, we will allow to stay, right? And what they've done with the Commonwealth citizens is they've said Commonwealth citizens are not allowed to live in the United Kingdom automatically anymore, but those that will become citizens, but they will generate benefits of that, being wives. But can I tell you what the biggest scandal is? Biggest scandal, and this is the thing that people forget: if you are from a Commonwealth country, a Crown dependency, or a British overseas territory, and you are a student, or have a work visa, or have any other visa for the United Kingdom, you can vote in this local elections. I think there are a total of 40 countries where you can live, where you can be a student and vote in the election. That would be all 26, I think it is, Commonwealth countries, the Republic of Ireland, you would have Gibraltar, you would have places, the Isle of Man, the Isle of... Jersey, Guernsey, get out of it. But actually, somebody said to me the other day, and I think it wasn't an unreasonable point, I just wonder whether part of the reason that Keir Starmer is so determined to have so many students on student visas and so many people on work visas in the UK is because they can vote just like you. And I will give you another shock that is really going to surprise you. If you are any of those people and you legitimately live in the UK, you can also run for Parliament. You can be British Prime Minister as an Irish citizen, not have a British passport.
Wow. Well, okay, thanks, Andre. And Ash, good luck for tomorrow.
Yeah, man, thanks, man.
Let's go to Steve in Walsall. Steve, you are on talk.
Thank you.
Away you go.
Gentlemen.
Hello, Steve.
I was talking to a friend of mine today. He works for one of the biggest house builders in this country.
Yeah.
And I was having a joke with him. I said, have you built any houses lately? And he says, yes, we've just finished 12. I said, all right. He says, 6 for the immigrants and 6 for general sale.
Yeah.
He said, but the 6 for the immigrants, they're having every domestic appliance you can think of in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There's only one thing we don't put in there, that's television and carpets.
Yeah.
He said, but they go to the local authorities and claim, then they pay, the local authorities pay for the television and carpets.
I must admit, I will tell you that what's...
What about the other 6?
Why do they get more appliances? What's going on, man?
Steve, I'll tell you what I find soul-destroying. Right, let's simplify the mathematics in the same way that you've simplified it.
Yeah.
So they're saying 40% social housing, 60% for normal sale. Let's call it 50-50, because it basically is. Right. So what that means is, if you want to buy a house today, you have to buy one for yourself and one for a migrant.
Yeah,
how's that great?
He said to me, he said the other 6 won't go, end up for the general public. They will end up in the hands of a conglomerate who will rent the houses back to these councils so they can put...
And even that's we were talking about this earlier, the headline in the Daily Telegraph today, front page, Starmer to rent homes for channel migrants. It's so important to highlight this issue. What would you do?
I mean, what would I do?
Yes.
Number one, I'd alter the total system of politics in this country, because it's rotten from top to bottom. And I would ask Donald Trump to come here and take this country as one of the United States of America, because this country's got nothing. It doesn't know how to run itself. And from what Donald Trump, all right, he has some wild ideas, but he's got the right idea about immigration. Yeah. Our infrastructure's coming apart at the seams, and we've had it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We often say this.
He's finished.
The principle that he does in America, which is so popular with the electorate over there, is that when times are tough, you need to pull up the hatches, look at the domestic issues first. Make America great again is a great positive statement. And you look at that, you say, well, on immigration, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be absolutely clear. If you're coming illegally, you're going out again. Doge, the whole thing about government efficiency, we need that over here as well.
But also, he did what, which is very unusual for a politician, but he's not really a part. He did what he said he was going to do. Michael in Spain, España, por favor.
No, I don't.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Steve was
How you
finished.
doing?
No, I was just going to say maybe we
was
should have gone
history
for
in
the
this
break, but don't worry, go for it, Michael.
Don't say you're finished. Don't say you're finished. I've been waiting all night to get in and tell you this.
Go on then.
You had a guy on earlier called Bobby, yeah, and he was trying to explain himself in regards to what's happening with Muslims entering the country, this kind of thing, yes?
Yeah, Billy in Wolverhampton.
Billy, right, Wolverhampton. Yeah,
Wilhelm.
Basically, what people don't seem to realise is there is about 2 billion Muslims in the world, and there's about 2.3 billion Christians.
Yeah.
Okay? So the Muslims are the sort of second largest of the religions.
Yeah.
Out of those 2 billion, those 2 billion, 15 to 25%
Are extremists, yeah.
are extremists, and they come to something like 300 million to 500 million. Now, that's the population of a country.
No, it's not. It's the population of a continent.
Of a country.
Well, of America, that's the population. But you see, the thing is as well, the extremists, and this applies to all groups, they're the ones that cause the problems. The majority don't do anything. So it's and that's a lot, isn't it?
Although
and you think this country's probably higher proportion.
Although I will say, can I just say this? That I think is worth pointing out. There is one thing about, maybe Pakistani, Bangladeshi culture, which I think we do have to address in this country, which is there is a remarkable level of politeness. Now, if I was to invite a neo-Nazi to speak at my church after Mass, you would rightly castigate me. What happens in the mosques is hate preachers are allowed to regularly speak, and what people do is they go, look, I don't really agree with it, but we don't want to tell them not to come. We don't want to be impolite. That should be stopped.
But the Pope before the last one, the one who's still alive, was in the Hitler Youth.
Yeah, but so was everyone else.
Yeah, I think the reality, the way that we stop a lot of the prejudice, the way that we stop a lot of the hate is for the leaders in the Muslim community or whatever to speak out about the atrocities that happen. Because you're right, not every Muslim is a terrorist.
No, of course.
And so you turn around, but they should be the first to call it out, and then we can work on that sort of basis.
But okay, let me say this to you, Michael. The other point I want to make is this. That on occasions, and we've talked about the situation in Finsbury Park Mosque on multiple occasions, on those few occasions where, the Muslims have got together and booted out the extremists, we have solidly supported the extremists. Solidly.
They shut the road every day for their prayers with Abu Hamza, and then he's a terrorist.
The mosque committee threw Abu Hamza out of Finsbury Park Mosque, and we shut the street so he could continue.
Every day for about 5 years.
And then the Muslims turn to us and go, why should I bother?
Yeah. No, and we need to call that out. And so often we only focus on, as you say, the bad stuff. We should turn around and say, this is the community, we should support that and make that happen.
All right, Michael, go for it.
Andre, the 75% of Muslims are good Muslims. They're good people.
Yeah.
But they are ruled by the bad section that are taken over. The ones, and they will not call out the bad, the good.
Well, it's the same with the Nazis. Most Germans were good, but it was a minority that took them over. And it's the same with Japan, and it's the same with Mao in China.
Michael, here's what I'm going to say to you, right? And I made this point the other day where a group of people were saying, all these right-wing channels are Islamophobic. What I've always said is, look, the problem is the Muslims do not speak up and sell the message. Let me just say this, right? If I'd been the boss of the mosque in Manchester after the Ariana Grande attack, here's what I would have said at the press conference. No, actually, I've probably got a young woman to say it. I'd have stood up and I'd have said, ladies and gentlemen of the press, last night the city of Manchester fell under a horrendous terrorist attack. We want to send our sympathies to everybody involved, and I will now update you. And by the way, what I'm about to say is all true. I want to update you on what this mosque and our community has done. All of our taxi drivers have been driving young people home for free. Yeah. That process has taken a total of 15 hours because some people have gone a significant distance. They have not been charged. That process has been completed. We have also opened up all of our takeaways for the emergency services to be fed and watered overnight. We will continue to open these facilities and provide the food free of charge for those members of the emergency services that require it. We've asked all of our doctors and nurses to come into work. We have one surgeon in particular who spent 13 hours operating on a young person. We are putting all hands on deck. We did not want Salman Abedi in our mosque, and questions will be asked about what the emergency security services should have told us. But what we will say now is that every single mosque in the country has now refused to bury Salman Abedi on the grounds he's going to hell anyway. We will give you further... What did they say? This is very embarrassing for Islam. And they sent out a guy with the big beard who's 1,000 years old. If you'd have said that on the telly, people... And all of that was true.
And this is the point we often make, and you're absolutely right on that. Say all the good things that happen. And also, in that, say, and we condemn. We condemn absolutely that the horrendous actions that took place.
The entire Muslim taxi fleet had worked all night taking it. And they didn't mention it.
And this is the thing, the way you stop all the phobia and all the hate and so on and so forth is by coming out and saying exactly that.
But
it's about the communication.
What you get is you get the 1,000-year-old bloke with a big beard in all the gear, and the first thing he will say is not "I'm sorry." He'll say this bomb is embarrassing for Islam, and people just hit the roof. Anyway, we'll be back with more next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, yes, this is Talk, and we've got a message saying, where is Ken in London, but I'm loving the show? The answer is, here he is.
It's a miracle.
Hello, Ken.
God bless you, the three wise men.
Triple A.
Three wise men.
Thank you.
Listen, in my humble opinion, our nation is in deep trouble with God.
Okay.
Do you know that the root cause, this is just my opinion as a Christian, the root cause of the departure of the... This is the root cause of our trouble. It lies in the moral collapse of our nation. Do you know what reigns in Parliament today? Atheism, LGBTQ ideology, and wokery ideology now set the laws of the land. Of the
yeah, but that's reversing, isn't it, with that ruling the other day?
Listen, did you know that around the Houses of Parliament, below the bottom windows, to the two sides in the back, the Lord's Prayer is carved in stone.
It is. All the way around the building.
French Norman.
Yeah.
The Houses of Parliament was established on the Bible. Now they mock the Bible. What we need in this country, in my opinion, is we need a Prime Minister like Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump, I heard him on the television just a few days ago saying, Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world. And he said, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. He is the only world leader I've ever heard who has spoken up and stated that.
Ali, can you talk to Ali? We've got Ali in West Yorkshire. Talk to Ken, Ali.
Good evening, Ali. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good, Ali. Very good. By the grace of God.
Good, good.
How about yourself? Do you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, Ali?
Well, as a Muslim, I do believe in Jesus, absolutely, and I believe in the second coming of Christ, as all Muslims do.
Yeah, well, the second coming of Christ is getting closer. However,
So you're agreeing with each other. This is a great moment. Carry on.
Yes, I respect Muslims. I don't hate any Muslims.
That's what we do at Talk. We bring the peoples together.
Because the lie
I don't. Sorry. Go on.
Go on, Ali.
Oh no, I was just saying the lie that's perpetuated that Muslims hate Jesus. Well, I think you'll find every Muslim.
No one said that. No one said that.
No, but the Muslims, the Isa in the Quran is not the Jesus of the Bible. The Isa in the Quran is only a prophet. He's a deception. The Jesus in the Bible is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And the Muslims reject that. That's why they're under the judgment of God. You know what the Bible says, Ali, in the Injil, John chapter 3? You read it tonight, the Injil, John chapter 3.
Which Bible is that? The one you've changed 500 times. Which Bible is it? Can you tell me which one?
Any Bible. You read any Bible, John chapter 3, verse 36. Listen to this, Ali. This is what God is saying to Islam today. He that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life. And he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him. So the wrath of God is over every Muslim who refuses to believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. God says it in the Bible, and it's in the Injil, and you're supposed to read the Injil as a Muslim.
Ali, your response?
I would just say to that, which Bible is it? The one you've changed recently? The old one? Which Bible is it?
Not been changed. That's a farce.
Any Bible you've pick up.
The Bible hasn't been changed. Where's it been changed? Where's it been changed?
This what you're saying about Isa is Jesus Christ. We believe in there's only one Jesus Christ.
The Isa of the Quran is a false prophet. He is not Jesus Christ of the Bible. He is a demon.
Who are you to say he's false? It's what you said yesterday about the Pope going to hell. I mean, who are you to decide what people should and shouldn't believe? Who are you?
No, I didn't say that the Pope's going to hell. I said Jesus said it. Unless a man is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. The Pope is not a born-again Christian. So Jesus said he won't see the kingdom of God. He's not in heaven. He's not in heaven, Ali. He's in hell.
What this born again is?
Born again. That means to be regenerated, Ali. It means to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, to ask him to forgive you of all your sins. He loves you very much, Ali. You're a precious soul to God. I'm talking about the Jesus of the Bible, my friend. He loved you so much. He died on the cross for your sins, Ali, for my sins, the sin of the world. He died for every Muslim, every Jew, every Gentile, and he's coming back soon in judgment.
Chaps, can I ask a question? Because there was some debate about whether it was offensive for His Majesty the King to talk about Jews and Muslims at Easter, not least because obviously the story of Jesus Christ is not necessarily relevant to Jews, but also Muslims do not believe that Jesus rose from the dead, therefore perhaps Easter's not relevant to them either. Thoughts from Ali perhaps first?
I just think everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. I'm not forcing my beliefs on anyone. It seems like Ken's forcing his views on everybody and his beliefs on everybody. I'm not forcing. This country is a Christian country. People should go to church. You know, I'm not saying it should. I don't know what the issue is, frankly.
Well, listen, this is the issue with Islam. Islam believes the greatest sin is shirk. S-H-I-R-K. You believe that shirk is an unforgivable sin. And you believe that because...
Ken, forgive me, what is that?
Shirk, S-H-I-R.
Yeah,
is that apostasy?
Yeah, that just means you don't reject God. That's
fine.
Shirk says you cannot...
No, you do not know anything about Islam. It means the rejection of God, to believe in loads of gods or any other God other than the one God of Jews, Christians and Muslims, the one God.
Well, the Muslims believe, this is what you believe, you believe that Christians...
He's telling you what you believe, Ali.
No, stop, Ali. Ali, this is what you believe, right? Let's just, you've got to...
Yeah, I think...
Ken, don't you accept that saying to this man, this is what you believe, sounds a bit silly?
This is what I believe. You can believe.
he's saying it's what he believes.
Yeah, no, Ken, you can say what you believe. What you can't say is what Ali believes, because that's offensive. And
I know what Islam teaches,
Ken,
friend.
you
don't know I know what you teach.
Ken, just 10 seconds on this, because it's so important. And Ali is very patiently explaining what he does believe. Let him
Ken
explain
already
what
knows
he
what
believes.
Ali believes.
No, and let Ali respond to that. Tell Ali, tell us what you believe, so Ken doesn't need to.
I just believe that I believe in God, the one God, and I believe what my belief is to me. I don't force my views on anyone. I don't say everybody's going to go to hell. As you know myself, I've spoken many up against terrorism, and I'm quite secular.
Is that what you thought he believed, Ken?
Listen, Islam is the most dangerous religion on earth. Islam is totally anti-Christ, anti-Christian, anti-Bible.
That is the most
vitriol. I know about Islam. I know a lot about Islam. It is the most dangerous, evil religion.
You don't even know your own religion, frankly. What do you know about
I know that Christians today in Islamic countries are being beheaded, slaughtered, and persecuted.
Okay, Ken, you've said that. Look. Ali, what happens? So first of all, I don't believe that Islam is evil, but what happens when people are deeply upset when they see that Christian countries are fairly universally welcoming of Muslims, and Muslim countries are fairly universally, at least partially, discriminatory?
Well, we have seen murders, there have been a lot of murders, in Nigeria and other countries, haven't they? Mass murders,
Hundreds
beheadings.
of them murdered.
Yeah.
Hundreds
No,
of them.
let Ali respond.
In the news much.
Let Ali respond.
I absolutely agree with you on all that. It's absolute atrocities happening in the world towards Christians and towards other religions. But frankly, when you say about why we come here, well, my grandfather served this country during the Second World War when you needed the Commonwealth countries then, and he was invited to this country to rebuild it. He came here. I was born here. We've contributed.
Yeah, but why should I?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but hang on a second. Why should I? Allow a mosque, a Pakistani mosque in the UK, in the knowledge that the Pakistanis would burn down a church if I built it in Pakistan?
Well, no, I don't know, Frank. I think that was.
It's not your fault, by the way. You don't have to answer that. But
but Ali, you're talking about your parents, and they actually became part of the British culture. There's people come with the mass migration now, and you've got ghettos where they don't want to blend in; they want their own culture. So that's the big difference, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely need to really be cut down on mass. Definitely all these boats and everything. I'm totally support that. I think it definitely needs to. This country is, I will say, this country is a soft touch when it comes to mass migration and crime and stuff.
And what's really good about having you on the show, Ali, as well, is that you can clarify a lot of the misunderstanding where people say,
let him clarify something I'd like to say.
Go.
I'm reading it from Surah chapter 8, verses 12 and 17. This is the words of Allah, the God of Islam. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. Smite ye them above their necks, smite off their fingertips off of them. It is not you who slew them, it was Allah. And the Bible, the Quran teaches and the Hadith teach the mission of this is the mission of Muhammad. I have been ordered to fight with the people till they say none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. That's in Al-Bukhara, Volume 4, verse 196. That is the mission of Islam.
Ali's gone.
To fight with the people and force them to believe in their false god, Allah.
Okay, Ken. All right, Ken. Well, Ali's left the discussion, which I do feel a bit sad for.
That's really it is a shame. The way you can unpack these things is get rid of the misunderstanding, work out what the differences are, because the world will be a better place if we don't tell each other what somebody else thinks, and you basically listen with respect to both sides. I mean, it's a shame if he's hung up. Hopefully he's just got cut off. We may be able to get him back.
My understanding actually is that the principal difference between Christianity and Islam is that whilst the revelation is Jesus in Christianity, the revelation is the Quran in Islam. More next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, I guess we go to Josh in Coventry. Josh, you're on Talk.
Evening, lads. How are you?
Yeah. Morning.
Morning.
Rise and shine. Time to get up, go to work. What's up, Josh? What's going on in Cov? Down in Cov?
Can I talk about the Conservative Party for 2 minutes? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
I think that I know you lot talk about reform a lot on Talk TV, but I think the Conservative Party, maybe not under Kemi Badenoch, but more under Robert Jenrick, I think they are the answer. I think they are the way forward. I think Robert Jenrick talks a lot of sense, lads. Do you agree, Andre, Ash?
Well, I voted for Robert Jenrick in the leadership election before I left for Reform.
Me too.
And look. Yeah. My own view is that there is a Labour Party which ought to represent Labour, not immigrants and claimers. The Liberal Democrats are effectively the middle of the roady, pro-European-y, statist type people. Fine, okay. The Conservative Party has sought to be Liberal Democrats. And really, the problem that we have had, and this is why Reform exists, it's why the Brexit Party existed, and it's why UKIP still exists, is because there are people within the Conservative Party, I'm not going to say the name again, Alan Mabber, who have basically sought to make the Conservative Party a Liberal Democrat brand. And that, I just think, has caused a nightmare for this country. But look, I've always said, nobody who likes me or who I like in the Conservative Party is responsible for the problems it's got.
Absolutely, I agree, Andre. And do you know what? To be honest, I think the Conservatives are an alternative to Liberal Democrats. I think they need to regain their purpose of the Conservatives. I think in these May elections...
Are you a party member?
I am, yeah, and I think everyone who would vote normally Conservative will vote Reform in these May elections. What does the Conservative stand for? And I'll be front here. I don't think Kemi Badenoch is the leader for the party.
Yeah, but they brought in Josh. Josh, they brought in Kemi Badenoch because they thought there was a value to having a black woman. Now, I'm not saying Kemi Badenoch's good or bad on that basis, though she's no good. But there was that leadership election, Robert Jenrick beat her hands down. But it was like, let's get a black woman. Yeah, it's just pathetic.
So what's the solution? It's very interesting. I had Ben Habib on my show a lot talking about the Integrity Party. And also he's been using...
That's his new party.
That's his new party. And he's saying...
What I could prefer to call a waste of money.
Well, there you go. But what he also says is that he wants the right to unite.
I don't.
What's your view?
Do you know what I think? Do you know what I think the solution is? I think we're ignoring him. I think James Cleverly is the solution. You know.
Okay.
I thought you said Jenrick was because he wants to unite the parties in some way or another.
Can I tell you? There's a video on my YouTube in which I say we should not unite the right.
You should fragment it.
But then you leave a gap for Starmer to come back in through the middle.
I'll tell you the argument against unite. I tell you the argument against uniting the right. What the Conservative Party want to do is not win an election. They want to be the predominant brand in conservatism because that's what gets them the knighthoods, that's what gets them the peerages, and that's what gets them the OBEs. The people within the Conservative Party who are doing that must not be fed, right? And effectively, uniting the right is like trying to solve and putting the Conservatives in charge is like trying to solve a crack addict's problem by giving them crack.
Yeah, can I get a quick point in very quickly, yeah?
Go for it.
Yeah, can I just say, I think that if you don't unite the right in 2029, I think the general election will be a split between Reform and...
But don't you think the solution for this is if they don't unite, they don't stand in each other's seats? Do you not think that?
No, I really don't.
Because then they'll split the vote.
I really don't. If you look at
bang on, mate. I think the Brexit Party not standing with the Conservatives led to the Conservatives' 18-seat majority.
They would have won if they'd have done that in the last election. The right would have won together.
I understand that, but there's a much more geographical split now. Look, the reality is Lee is going to be won by Reform in Greater Manchester. Windsor is going to be won by the Conservatives. The Conservatives will come nowhere in Lee.
General election.
general election and reform. There aren't local elections right now.
Andre.
Yeah.
If the Conservatives have Robert Jenrick, I believe they'll win a lot more seats. Kevin Baynott, do you seriously believe Andre she's a leader?
But do you think that the Tory party? I mean, we they said this with Labour. Corbyn's a lot have all gone. They're all still in there. Wouldn't you think that a lot of the Tories that were the problem would still be there behind Jenrick?
But can I ask you, Josh? Let me ask you about yourself. Are you an officer of the Conservative Party? Are you a young person? Are you an old person? What and when did you first join?
I'm a young Conservative. I'm 18. I joined the Conservative a couple of years ago. I personally believe, I put my neck on the parapet here. I think Robert Jenrick is a leader. Have you seen Robert Jenrick's video the other day? DEI, diversity, inclusion. I think he's bang on what he says, right? And I think that people like me, I want to go to the law at university, right? And I think that people like me are excluded. I'm very privileged. I go to a private school. I've had a very lucky upbringing. But I feel like people like me are excluded. Yeah. And I feel like Robert Jenrick talks to people like me. I don't think Kevin Baynott understands my problems,
Yeah, and the biggest problem, you make some real...
What, are you white working class? Is that what you're saying, Josh? Even though
he's not white working class.
Well, you had a good education, but you are from the...
Yeah, I mean, I've had a fantastic education. I'd say I'm sort of lower middle class, but my parents most certainly are working class. But there's no problem with that, Ash. A lot of people...
Well, there isn't getting jobs, isn't there, when you're excluded from it? But when you're excluded from certain things, like you say, Josh.
But going back to the point about uniting the right, because if it's fragmented, then what their argument is obviously you're just going to let Labour go in anyway. So just to explore that a bit further, it shouldn't be just about the individuals you're voting for. It should be about the policies, the fundamental differences between the parties, if there are those fundamental differences.
Absolutely, and I think, Ash, just go back to what you said, I wouldn't say I'm working class, I'd say I'm lower middle class. And I think that I look at a lot of these law firms, and they're only sort of accepting applicants from what I would say middle class.
I don't think that's true anymore. I'm a lawyer. I've seen these people. They actually want to have people from all sorts of sides.
Can we just so Josh? By the way, I want you to go onto my YouTube and watch the thing on uniting the right. I want to ask you, what is the level of racial discrimination that a white person will face attempts to get into the law these days?
It's interesting. It depends. It does depend on certain law firms.
But there is racial discrimination.
There are things that they need to call out, and absolutely we need to look at that sort of side. I always say it should be blind and works on that sort of basis. Law firms, in and of themselves, want to have many different people from all sorts of walks of life.
All right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to go to a break, but let's keep hold of Josh. We'll be back in a second.
There, Josh.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, as you know, an ill crime. As you know, an ill crime was committed against me earlier when samosas were sent to the studio and a theft took place. Right, who are you?
I'm now an Uber driver, as I was fired for my issue earlier on. So I have brought you some.
Put your Uber thing up.
Let's have a look.
Where did we steal that from?
Other delivery things are available.
Oh, sorry, there's nothing actually in here.
What do you mean there's no food?
There's a drumstick. That's the only chicken drumstick we've got.
Hang on. Has the food failed to clear security yet?
I think that may have happened again.
No!
I wasn't looking,
right, that was 40 chicken nuggets,
40?
4 bowls of chips.
No!
8 dips. Right, you can't get them. Do something.
He's not even got a balaclava on. He can't be a real Uber driver.
It's empty.
Bloody hell.
Do something.
That's terrible.
I'm sorry.
Do something.
Nice bag, though.
What are you doing about it?
I'll sort something out.
Well, you won't sort something out.
Make it snappy. Get snappy.
Get down to the one that looks like Paul Bearer and get it. She does from the. She does. Oh, my Undertaker. She does look like Paul Bearer.
Oh, we love it.
Oh, all right. Well, we appear to have failed on the food. The amount of food that has been destroyed by security today, it would feed a small African nation.
It's always a joy, isn't it? But do keep sending the stuff. We love it.
Yeah, we'll keep destroying it.
It's going to go to the food.
No, that cost me. Let me tell you what that food. How much the McDonald's cost me?
How much?
£32.91.
No, for 40 nuggets. No, that's too much.
Has Hamburglar nicked it?
Oh, that's rather good.
Yeah, do you remember Hamburglar? He's been arrested.
Wasn't
He got a full life tariff.
No,
who was Hamburglar?
Hamburglar was McDonald's.
He stole the burgers.
Who were the wimpy people? Because that used to be
the bender. That was a bender. I used to go in a wimpy and ask for a bender.
Did you ever have a brown derby?
No, it was a long sausage, a bent one.
Is that right?
Yeah, you remember the bender?
I don't remember the bender.
It was their sausage. No, you can say it. That was the name of their hot dog. The Bender. It's now called a sausage circle, apparently.
Is that right?
Is it?
I
do you remember Brown Derby?
It was a hat, isn't it?
Yes,
Brown Derby was a dessert, wasn't it?
Anyway, look, we've still got Josh in Coventry.
Josh is
18,
brilliant.
and he wants to do law. Josh, carry on. Away you go.
Let's hear your lawyer's argument.
Lads, one thing I'd like to say is, Andre, first thing, I've got you on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for connecting me. But what I'd like to say is that I think that the Conservatives offer the sort of central argument, because I think Reform are too radical, you know? I listened to Reform UK yesterday morning. Do you not think they're too fucking...
But the viewers and listeners of this show think Nigel Farage's a communist, right? You have to understand, we are, let's be clear, we are an organ of the right on this show.
So both of you help me out on this one. Why would you not want the right to unite?
Why I wouldn't want the right to
both of you.
I will tell you my reason. I'll tell you what my reason. I think there's a clear geographical spread that is now taking place. I don't think that reform will undermine the Conservatives. But here is a critical thing from the polling, which I probably can't talk about because
I'll talk about that.
Okay, the polling in the Runcorn by-election. No, actually, I will say, because it's not a candidate, right? It suggests that if there were to be a unity candidate, they would get fewer votes than Reform and the Conservatives. And now, there isn't that candidate in the Runcorn by-election, so it doesn't matter. But what you have to understand is they're not necessarily the same people. If you look at people who are, if you like, the patriotic working class in someone like Doncaster, they are not the stockbroker belt in Cobham.
So help me out with this then. They will say if you fragment the votes, because you've got the alternatives,
split the vote,
you're going to split the votes, it basically shoehorns
which is
the
what
Labour
happened in
Party
the last election.
Exactly. What's your answer to that?
My argument, very simply, is I think the voters will be more sophisticated next time. I think there is that geographical spread.
But some will pick one and some will pick the other, and that will split the vote.
No, it won't. Right? You've got to understand the Conservatives are going to get nothing in Lee, and the Reform are going to get nothing in Windsor. That geographical.
What if Jenrick's the leader by then?
There is a huge assumption here that these people are the same people who will go 50-50. It's not true.
I get that, but
actually, that's not my reason. Andrew, that's not my reason for not wanting to unite the right. My reason for not wanting to unite the right is that I genuinely believe Conservative campaign headquarters cannot be trusted to lead on this.
But there's a different thing, and you haven't answered my question as regards fragmenting the vote. Because clearly, if you have two choices, you're not going to get 100% all just voting for one.
Well, okay, not 100%. But as an example, you would expect maybe the Conservatives get a few thousand in Lee and a few thousand in Windsor.
But you're fragmenting the vote.
Well, you're not fragmenting the vote.
And then start a sales through the middle.
Okay, you're fragmenting the vote.
You are fragmenting the vote.
You're fragmenting the vote to a tiny extent. My argument is that the fragmenting of the vote is much more exaggerated, and actually this geographical difference. But remember something else.
Yeah.
The Conservatives have a glass ceiling in the red wall, having bilged it up in 2019. Reform don't. Josh has gone, and we were going to give him the last word.
Oh,
but anyway.
has he gone? What a shame.
Apparently a lot of them have got glass tables, but I don't know what that's for. So anyway, well, that's coming up to the end of the show, isn't it?
It's at the end of the show.
Well,
It is the end of the show, and we're now told that the chicken nuggets will clear security in 5 minutes.
Oh, they've got more chicken nuggets.
Roger Moore never arrived.
The chicken's coming home to roost. I love it. Fantastic.
Roger!
It's got to be
Okay, so Andrew Eborn, once again, do us your social
at
media.
Octopus TV, at Andrew Eborn. Go to the YouTube channel. You can find the Octopus TV, the Andrew Eborn Show. Lots of great people on there. Do it now because it's free.
Okay, I want you to go to my YouTube channel, which is Andre Walker, which is where the really fruity stuff is, and also a longer explanation as to why I don't believe in uniting the right. Ash's is Virtual Ash.
At Virtual Ash, at Andre JP Walker. What's your one again?
At Andrew Eborn.
At Andrew Eborn.
Hang on, is there a voice note that we haven't played?
From Steve Allen.
Oh,
This is
let's
Steve
do
Allen.
that.
Steve Allen. He's looking for work, isn't he, Steve Allen?
Steve Allen, remember the Magic Circle.
Here we go.
I think